A few months later, Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan came to the Hidden Sword Palace and found perfected Lord Chuan Yang. They told him what they had discovered in the Nova waters. When perfected Lord Chuan Yang heard that, his expression turned extremely solemn. Clearly, he was unaware of what was taking place in the Nova waters. When he heard the couple's account, he realized that this demonic calamity was probably more troublesome than the previous few. He looked at the two of them and said with an extremely serious expression, "The news you provided is very important. I'll send a message to the Purple Sun Palace in a while." At that point, perfected Lord Chuan Yang seemed to have thought of something and continued to say to the two of them, "By the way, when I went to the Purple Sun Palace to meet Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, he asked me about you." Huh? Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's heart skipped a beat. Why would a dignified Heavenly Lord suddenly ask about them? Could it be that Shen Ruyan's identity in her previous life had been exposed? But that was unlikely. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame was probably not around yet when Shen Ruyan was at her peak. Not to mention that, after reincarnation, she had already severed many connections with her previous life. Even if the other party was proficient in divination, it was absolutely impossible for him to really calculate her background. However, they also knew that as a Heavenly Lord, he would not ask perfected Lord Chuan Yang about them for no reason. There must be something going or some special reason. As if he could tell their concerns, perfected Lord Chuan Yang could not help but smile. "There's no need to worry. The reason why Senior Purple Flame asked me about you is because I've mentioned you to him many times in the past." Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not expect that the high and mighty Purple Flame would ask perfected Lord Chuan Yang about them because of this. From the looks of it, the relationship between perfected Lord Chuan Yang and Heavenly Lord Purple Flame was definitely not simple. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang continued, "Especially after what we have just been through, Senior Purple Flame has become even more interested in the two of you. Therefore, he specially instructed me that when you have time, he hopes that the two of you can make a trip to the Purple Sun Palace. He wants to meet you in person. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame wants to see us personally." Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were really surprised. Everyone knew that Soul Formation Heavenly Lord was the highest cultivation level one could achieve in this world. Their time was extremely precious. Not to mention cultivators like them who had just advanced to nascent soul and were not from the Purple Sun Palace. Even a nascent soul perfected Lord of the Purple Sun Palace would find it extremely difficult to request an audience with Heavenly Lord Purple Flame. How could they be summoned? At that moment, the two of them could not help but have a new understanding of the relationship between perfected Lord Chuan Yang and Heavenly Lord Purple Flame. Yang Chengxuan said, "Senior Chuan Yang, did Senior Heavenly Lord Purple Flame say when we should go over?" Although he and Shen Ruyan were both at the nascent soul realm, they still considered themselves juniors when facing perfected Lord Chuan Yang. Even though perfected Lord Chuan Yang had reminded them more than once that they only needed to address each other as fellow Taoists in the future, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan still insisted on calling him Senior. When perfected Lord Chuan Yang heard Jiang Chengxuan's words, he said with a shake of his head, "No, but he definitely won't have time to see you recently. This is because the pure Yang true treasure that can spot contaminated items is already in the final stage of refinement. I suggest that it's best if you go to the Purple Sun Palace and meet Senior Purple Flame within 10 years after the refinement of the pure Yang true treasure." Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded in understanding. Then the three of them continued to talk. During this period, Earthwalker and Yan Wushwang also came to meet the couple. When it was about time, the couple bade farewell. 2 months later, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan finally returned to the Jiang Nation. On the 3rd day after returning, Jiang Chengxuan summoned all the higher-ups of the Jiang Nation to Mount Mystic Tai. Then he told everyone about the latest progress of the demonic calamity. In an instant, shock and disbelief appeared on everyone's faces. Clearly, no one expected that a demonic calamity like the Seven Lotuses demonic sect back then was actually already happening. This was a calamity many times greater than the demon beast riot. If things went wrong, not to mention them, even soul formation heavenly lords might die. At this moment, everyone looked grim, and the pressure in their hearts multiplied. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan knocked on the armrest and said to everyone. Chapter 503. Gain from the Sutra Library, meeting perfected Lord Xuan Yang again, returning to the Jiang Nation 3. 6. Everyone one didn't tell you this to spread fear among you. Instead, I want you to know what you will face in the near future. Instead of becoming cannon fodder, it's better to take a gamble. As the saying goes, crisis contains opportunity. If there's danger, there's definitely an opportunity within it. It all depends on whether you can seize it. Here, I do not wish to say anything more. I just want to ask you, are you willing to advance and retreat with the cultivators of Jiang Nation and the entire state of Jiang in the future? If you're unwilling, you may leave. I'll allow you to leave the Jiang Nation with your people. And I can assure you that if you choose to leave, my Jiang family will definitely not pursue the matter. Why? But, at this point, Jiang Chengxuan's tone suddenly became extremely stern. If you choose to stay, don't blame me for being heartless if you run away at the last minute or disobey my orders. I will take action personally to make an example out of you. I hope that all of you will consider it carefully. Don't regret it at that time because it will really be too late. Why? These words made everyone's heart skip a beat. They knew that Jiang Chengxuan meant every word he said. If the situation he mentioned really happened, there was no doubt that Jiang Chengxuan would not show any mercy. At this moment, most people were struggling inside and had a look of hesitation on their faces. Clearly, they were seriously considering Jiang Chengxuan's suggestion. In the upcoming calamity, should they stay or go? Jiang Chengxuan did not rush them. He just waited quietly for everyone's decision. Just like that. 15 minutes passed, 15 minutes passed, half an hour passed but no one spoke. This also meant that no one present had any intention of leaving the Jiang Nation yet. 6. Come to think of it, it made sense. They had been residents of this place for thousands of years. How could they give up just like that? Oh, why? Most importantly, if they left, where could they go? It had to be known that this calamity was the calamity of the entire 9 essences cultivation world. Not to mention leaving the Jiang Nation. Even if they left the northern border, they wouldn't be able to extricate themselves from it. Unless they had the ability to escape to other cultivation worlds. But was that even possible? Obviously not. So, since they could not escape no matter what, they might as well continue to stay in Jiang Nation. That way, at least they could rely on Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. After all, with their understanding of these two people, they were not the kind of people who would casually use their own people as cannon fodder. Along the way, they had all seen what the couple had done. Regardless of whether it was using their body as bait to kill a level 5 demon emperor and end the demon beast riot in advance, or uniting the Kangnan region and establishing order, they had proven themselves to be reliable people. Where else could they find such capable leaders? Even if they were truly defeated by those demonic cultivators, it would be a dignified and straightforward death at the hands of the enemy. More than an hour passed. No one present wanted to leave. A smile finally appeared on Jiang Chengxuan's face. He nodded at everyone present. It seems like none of you plan to leave. In that case, in the future, I hope that you can cooperate with my wife and me to completely eliminate all the places where demonic cultivators might exist in our Jiang Nation before the demonic calamity arrives. Yes, we will follow your orders. All the cultivators bowed to receive the order. Next, Jiang Chengxuan made some detailed arrangements. After that, Jiang Chengxuan dismissed everyone and only asked the 3 brothers, Liu Linglong, Jiang Yuncheng, Jiang Yunru, Shen Yuanlong, and Shen Dayaming, who were closest to him, to stay. Then, together with Shen Ruyan, he took out some of their gains from the trip, especially the inheritance Jade slip of the Golden Furnace sect. When the people present saw the Jade slips, their faces were filled with shock and joy. They knew very well how valuable the things that Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan took out were. Granduncle, are you really going to let us learn these Jade slips? Jiang Reni and the others were still in disbelief and subconsciously asked. Jiang Chengxuan immediately nodded with certainty and smiled. Of course. Since Ruyan and I have taken out these things, we naturally want you to choose for yourself what you want to learn. Before this demonic calamity ends, I will put a portion of the gains into our family's treasure vault and library. With so many inheritances being put into the family's library, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. Especially those cultivation techniques for nascent soul and refinement methods of the puppets. Once the news was leaked, there would probably be many nascent soul sects or families eyeing the Jiang family and causing them trouble. This was not what Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan wanted to see when a demonic calamity was looming large. Everyone present was aware of this. Without waiting for Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan to speak, they each swore that they would not leak anything about this. Demon hunting true treasure, killing the demon lord. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned to Xunaming Peak together. However, not long after they returned to Xunaming Peak, Huang Linger, who they had not seen for a while, came to them. She was clearly much more mature than before. Her cultivation had also reached the 6th level of the Violet Palace during these years of cultivation. Seeing the couple, she immediately greeted them warmly like before. "Brother Jiang, Sister Shen." "Okay." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't expect Huang Linger's visit. However, they quickly figured why. Shen Ruyan asked with concern, "Linger, how have you been recently? Is everything all right? Is there anything we can help you with?" Huang Linger smiled sweetly. "Thank you for your concern, Sister Shen. I've been doing well recently." At this point, there was obvious hesitation on Huang Linger's face. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan could tell she had something more to say. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and said, "Linger, if you have anything to say, just say it. There's no need to hide anything from us." "Okay." Huang Linger nodded. Without any hesitation, she looked up at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and said, "Brother Jiang, Sister Shen, I want to travel around and visit the Moon Watcher sect." "Huh?" Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were surprised again. They thought that Huang Linger must miss her father. Ever since the demon beast riot 200 years ago, Huang Wenyu had completely disappeared. Until now, there was no news of his whereabouts. If it wasn't for the fact that the soul lamp in the Moon Watcher sect hadn't been completely extinguished, everyone would have suspected that Huang Wenyu was no longer in this world. Especially recently, it was said that Huang Wenyu's soul lamp had shown signs of extinguishing several times. Later on, even if it recovered slightly, it was still in a flickering state. As a daughter, it was impossible for Huang Linger not to be worried at all. However, it was not a good idea to go out at this point, with a demonic calamity around the corner. Although Huang Linger was at the 6th level of Violet Palace, she really did not have much combat experience. Especially when facing a cunning demonic cultivator, if she was not careful, she might suffer a huge loss. However, at the same time, they could not stop Huang Linger from going out. Although their relationship had become closer over the years, in the end, Huang Linger was still a guest. As the host, how could he restrict the guest's freedom? At this thought, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan couldn't help but look at each other. In the end, Jiang Chengxuan smiled and nodded at Huang Linger. "Linger, if you want to go out and travel, then go. You should know more or less about the current situation in the northern border. Remember, safety is everything." As he spoke, Jiang Chengxuan raised his hand and flipped it. A humanoid puppet that had reached level 4 suddenly appeared in front of Huang Linger. "Linger, this level 4 puppet was obtained by your sister Shen and me when we went out this time. Before you go out, I hope you can refine this puppet first. That way, your sister Shen and I will be more at ease." Seeing the puppet Jiang Chengxuan took out, Huang Linger was wildly shocked. It went without saying how precious a level 4 puppet was. Her brother Jiang wanted her to refine such a puppet. How could she? However, before Huang Linger could reject him, Shen Ruyan, who was beside Jiang Chengxuan, smiled and said to Huang Linger, "Linger, we've known each other for more than 200 years. Although this level 4 puppet is very precious, you should know that it is useless to me and your brother Jiang. Compared to your safety, such a puppet is not worth mentioning." Huang Linger was touched by her words. At the same time, she knew that if she really refused, she would be breaking their hearts. Hence, she no longer refused and sincerely bowed to the two of them. She said gratefully, "Thank you, Sister Shen and Brother Jiang, for your concern for me. I will remember to be careful on this trip. I won't let you worry about me." "Good." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan smiled and nodded. After that, the three of them chatted for a while before Huang Linger stood up and left. A moment later, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan entered the cave abode. After a session of dual cultivation, the couple began to digest the gains from this trip. On Jiang Chengxuan's side, the first thing he had to do was to use the spatial grass to raise his cultivation to the 3rd level of nascent soul. Secondly, he had to use the yin-yang treasure crystal to raise his intrinsic dharma treasure, the yin-yang divine water jade, to level 5. Something worth mentioning was that after they killed the white-haired old man, hand-domping that day, they even obtained an earth crystal from him. This item was a top-notch earth element spiritual item. It could also raise his deep earth halberd to level 5. 2. 1. However, this item was not perfectly compatible with his deep earth halberd. If he used it forcefully, it would probably cause his deep earth halberd to lose a portion of its potential. Therefore, the best way was to use this earth crystal to refine another level 5 earth element true treasure. Jiang Chengxuan already had an idea. Lastly, it was the practice of level 5 spells. This could be a long-term goal. As long as he had time, he could start practicing level 5 spells. In any case, he had collected many level 5 elemental spells from the Golden Furnace sect, which were enough to keep him busy for a long time. After confirming what they wanted to do in the next few decades, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan stopped hesitating and began to cultivate in seclusion. Time flew by like an arrow. In the blink of an eye, it was 30 years later. In the past 30 years, Jiang Chengxuan had made solid progress in his cultivation, stepping into the third level of nascent soul from the second level. At the same time, he used the yin-yang crystal to raise his intrinsic true treasure, the yin-yang divine water jade, to level 5. Then there was his mastery of level 5 elemental spells. Apart from Roaring Flame Dragon and Chaotic Stone's Fall, he had also mastered 2 other level 5 element spells. They were Golden Divine Light and Turtle Water Shield. The former was what he had exchanged with Earth Walker at the Nascent Soul Trade Fair. The latter came from the library of the Golden Furnace sect. The former was the purest offensive divine light, while the latter was a rather powerful defensive spell that was enough to resist many level 5 attacks. Just as Jiang Chengxuan was about to use the earth crystal to refine another level 5 earth element true treasure, his heart suddenly skipped a beat. In the next moment, he rushed out of his seclusion cave abode. Outside, he met Shen Ruyan, who had just walked out as well. The couple looked at each other. Then their gazes shifted to the distant southern horizon. There, a treasured mirror that emitted layers of golden light illuminated most of the sky in the northern border. A powerful and blazing aura like the sun hung high in the sky. At this moment, be it a chi refinement cultivator, golden core, or nascent soul, they could clearly sense the terrifying might emitted from the treasure mirror in the sky. That is, Jiang Chengxuan was a little awestruck. With his current cultivation and strength, when he felt the majestic power emitted by the treasure mirror, he felt in. It was as if he was as weak as a firefly in front of the treasure mirror. At that moment, Shen Ruyan said, "If I'm not wrong, that should be the level 6 pure yang true treasure jointly refined by Heavenly Lord Purple Flame and the others." Level 6 pure yang true treasure. Jiang Chengxuan was shocked. No wonder the aura of the mirror was so majestic and terrifying. However, ordinary level 6 pure yang true treasures should not be so powerful. Shen Ruyan could not help but add, the reason why the mirror is so majestic is probably because it was jointly refined by heavenly lords. It was not something an ordinary level 6 pure yang true treasure can compare to. Is that so? Jiang Chengxuan looked at the distant southern sky again. It was at this moment that an extremely resonant voice suddenly sounded from that direction. "Evil demon, you want to hide under my grandson mirror. Dream on. In celebration of the creation of our demon-hunting true treasure, we'll use you, a level 6 demon lord, as an offering to the heavens." As soon as he finished speaking, an extremely majestic purple-robed figure suddenly rose from the distant southern sky. In the blink of an eye, the purple-robed figure reached a height of 10,000 feet. It was like a mountain. He was holding a treasure mirror that emitted endless golden light. As a blazing golden light rose, the distant southern sky was completely filled with endless golden flames. A magnificent and majestic aura, like the vastness of the sun, suddenly pressed down on the entire northern border. All the cultivators situated within the northern border at this moment could clearly sense that suffocatingly formidable aura. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were no exception. They looked at the golden light that filled the entire sky in wide-eyed amazement. In the midst of that golden light, a pitch-black, ink-like dot suddenly appeared. Then the black dot became larger and larger, also becoming the size of a mountain in the blink of an eye. However, the owner of that enormous black shadow was imprisoned within that expanse of golden flames. No matter how he struggled or tried, he could not break free from the restraints of the golden flames. On the contrary, as time passed, the black shadow he turned into became smaller and smaller. When it shrunk to a size of hundreds of feet, no matter how the golden flames burned, they could not shrink it further. Halata. At the same time, a loud laugh suddenly came from the black shadow. Purple flame, with your current cultivation, you want to refine me. Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? What if we're included? Suddenly, a green and a blue figure appeared behind Heavenly Lord Purple Flame. As they reached their hands into the blazing golden light, the originally intense golden light shone even brighter. Sizzle! In just an instant, the demon, known as the Path of the Extreme, suddenly seemed to be set on fire. The darkness around him quickly disappeared. Everlasting mountain, infinite ocean you. The demon's shocked and furious voice resounded throughout the sky. Why do you think the three of us are not enough to refine you? Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain, who had turned into a green light, sneered. Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean said indifferently, "All right, there's no need to waste our breath on this demon. We have to refine this demon no matter what to celebrate the birth of the grand sun mirror." Boom! As Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean finished speaking, the golden flames in the sky burst forth with extreme radiance. A terrifying aura surged in all directions, leaving everyone awestruck. Especially the demonic cultivators, they were all trembling in fear. Just like that, the entire golden light lasted in the air for a few days. 7 days later, in the distant southern sky, a dense spiritual chi tide suddenly surged. Accompanying this was a furious roar filled with anger and unwillingness. Purple flame, everlasting mountain, infinity ocean, don't be happy too early. In this calamity, we demonic cultivators will definitely make everyone in the northern border suffer in eternity. Even if you have a level 6 pure yang true treasure, it's useless. Shadiyahata. Bang! Amidst his wild laughter, the old demon's figure was completely reduced to ashes by the grand sun mirror. However, his last words put a frown on the face of the three heavenly lords. Finally, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame was the first to break the silence. He looked at everlasting mountain and infinite ocean and said, "Although I don't want to boost others' morale and destroy ours, the truth is that we can't take this demonic calamity lightly. You and I must be well prepared. Especially those rats hidden in the northern border. We have to get rid of them as soon as possible. My suggestion is, why don't we jointly issue a demon-slaying decree and order all the cultivators in the northern border to head to the den of the Path of the Extreme to eradicate them all? What do the two of you think?" "I second that." Both Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean and Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain agreed. A few days later, Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan received a message from Perfected Lord Xuan Yang. The content was exactly what they had heard a few days ago. The cultivators of the northern border were asked to go to the lair of the Path of the Extreme to carry out an eradication mission. This was the joint decision of the three heavenly lords of the northern border. They even issued a demon-slaying decree, one that allowed no disobedience. Especially for nascent souls, they had to obey the orders of the three heavenly lords wholeheartedly. In case of violation, the consequences ranged from being expelled from the northern border to, in more severe cases, the complete annihilation of your lineage. This was definitely not a joking matter. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, naturally, wouldn't be so unwise as to challenge heavenly lords. On the contrary, the moment they received Perfected Lord Xuan Yang's message, they relayed the message to all the golden core sects and families in the Jiang nation. When everyone gathered at Mount Mystic Tai, Jiang Chengxuan ordered each family to send at least one golden core and 3 violet palace cultivators to participate in this operation, heading together to the lair of the Path of Extreme. All the families were very cooperative. In a moment, 12 golden cores and 36 violet palace cultivators volunteered to join Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. The couple did not hesitate and took out a large level 4 flying ship. After everyone entered the flying ship, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan led them to the hidden sword palace in the state of Yu. They planned to meet up with Perfected Lord Xuan Yang and the others first before heading to the lair of the Path of the Extreme together. On the hidden sword palace's end, everything was ready. The person in charge of leading the team from the Hidden Sword Palace was perfected Lord Xianxia himself. Behind him was another nascent soul perfected Lord of the Hidden Sword Palace, Yan Wuxuang. As for Earthwalker, he was left in the palace to guard the sect. After exchanging pleasantries, perfected Lord Xianxia said to Jiang, Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, there will probably be many dangers in the demonic lair this time. Remember to be careful. However, before that, we have to make a trip to the Purple Sun Palace first. Firstly, it's to make it easier for the Purple Sun Palace to make arrangements for us. Secondly, it's naturally to confirm no one among us is demonized by the contaminated item. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's hearts skipped a beat. Confirming whether our side had been infiltrated by demonized cultivators was probably the main and foremost goal. From here on, it would probably be very difficult for the demonic cultivators hiding among them to continue hiding. After all, in front of the Grand Sun Mirror, all concealment would be exposed. At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan, perfected Lord Xianxia, and the others quickly flew towards the state of Purple Cloud, which was where the Purple Sun Palace was located. After taking a few teleportation arrays on the way, they finally arrived at the mountain gate where the Purple Sun Palace was half a month later. Swoosh swoosh. Just as they arrived at the mountain gate of the Purple Sun Palace, a green light quickly flew towards them. When the light approached, Jiang Chengxuan and the others immediately saw the figure clearly. It was a man in a green robe, exuding a powerful aura. Every move he made seemed to bring pressure. He was a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. Seeing Jiang Chengxuan, perfected Lord Xianxia and the others, he smiled. Then he raised his hand and cupped his fists at perfected Lord Xianxia. Fellow Taoist Xianxia, it's been a long time. It seems that your cultivation has advanced again. Congratulations. Fellow Taoist Wind Cloud, you too. Perfected Lord Xianxia cupped his fists in return. Judging from your aura, I believe you're not far from the peak of nascent soul, right? Haha, nothing can escape you. The man called Wind Cloud laughed heartily. Then he turned to look at Jiang Chengxuan and the others beside perfected Lord Xianxia. When perfected Lord Xianxia saw that, he hurriedly introduced. Fellow Taoist Wind Cloud, let me introduce you. These two are fellow Taoist, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, whom Senior Purple Flame has been wanting to see. As he spoke, perfected Lord Xianxia turned to look at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. This is Senior Purple Flame's personal disciple, perfected Lord Wind Cloud. He's also one of the leaders of this operation. They are the people my Shifu wants to see. Perfected Lord Wind Cloud's eyes lit up when he heard perfected Lord Xianxia's introduction. He looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and said politely, So it's the two fellow Taoists from the state of Jiang. Nice to meet you. As he spoke, he did not forget to cup his fists at the two of them. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan hurriedly returned the greeting. They already knew that the person in front of them was not an ordinary perfected lord. Putting aside the fact that he was the personal disciple of Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, just his identity as a late-stage nascent soul was enough to command respect among everyone present. After exchanging pleasantries, perfected Lord Wind Cloud personally led them to Purple Sun Palace's reception peak. Here, Jiang Chengxuan and the others saw many perfected lords who had already arrived. This included perfected Lord Flowing Snow, whom they had interacted with before, perfected Lord Star Sea, whom they had met at the Hidden Sword Palace Trade Fair, and Pei Daoki from the Mingjin sect. In addition to that, Lu Yuanchen from the Lu family in the state of Lu, Cao Tianxing from the Cao family in the state of Yu, and Liu Guangyao from the Liu family in the state of Hai were also there. This was the first time Jiang Chengxuan had seen Cao Tianxing and Liu Guangyao. Almost as soon as the three families saw the couple, they revealed deep hostility. However, they restrained themselves, not daring to cause trouble here. Jiang Chengxuan sneered in his heart. He ignored the three families and found a seat with perfected Lord Xianxia. Not long after, perfected Lord Flowing Snow from the Snow sect and perfected Lord Star Sea from the Astral sect approached Jiang Chengxuan. Fellow Taoist Xianxia, fellow Taoist Yan, fellow Taoist Jiang, and fellow Taoist Shen. As soon as the two of them walked in, the two sides immediately exchanged pleasantries. After a while, perfected Lord Wind Cloud came to the center with 6 nascent soul perfected lords in Purple Sun Palace uniforms. The perfected lords who were still chatting gradually fell silent. Affected Lord Wind Cloud glanced at everyone and smiled. Fellow Taoists, first of all, on behalf of the Purple Sun Palace, I thank everyone for coming. Secondly, regarding this operation, I believe everyone should already be well informed. However, before setting off, in order to ensure that there are no hidden demonic cultivators among us, I need everyone to cooperate and stand in front of the Grand Sun Mirror. Hearing Perfected Lord Wind Cloud's words, the perfected lords present looked at each other. Then they nodded one after another. As a matter of fact, they also wanted to ensure that they and their fellow disciples were not contaminated by the demonic aura. Before long, Perfected Lord Wind Cloud and a few perfected lords of Purple Sun Palace faced the main hall of Purple Sun Palace and bowed. We respectfully request the treasure to reveal itself. Buzz. Just as Perfected Lord Wind Cloud and the others finished speaking, a radiant and majestic circular mirror, filled with supreme power, suddenly appeared above the heads of everyone. At this moment, everyone distinctly felt an incredibly grand and vast aura that filled the entire space they were in. Everyone, please. At the same time, Perfected Lord Wind Cloud gestured to everyone with a solemn expression. The scene instantly fell into a short silence. After a while, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang was the first to walk out. In a single step, he arrived in front of the Grand Sun Mirror. Of course, what everyone was currently seeing was not the actual body of the vast sun mystic mirror, but a projection it had cast down. However, even if it was a projection, its grade had also reached level 6. It was more than enough to determine if there was a contaminated demonic cultivator. Buzz. Suddenly, a blazing golden light illuminated the mirror, and shortly after, it reflected the figure of Perfected Lord Chuan Yang. Nothing unusual happened. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang then returned to his seat. Following that, Perfected Lords stepped forward one after another and passed the test. Come to think of it, it made sense. Who would come here knowing that they were contaminated? Of course, this did not mean that the other cultivators who did not come could avoid the test of the Grand Sun Mirror. The only difference was when. If in the time that followed, you intentionally avoided the inspection of the Grand Sun Mirror, then without others saying anything, you would undoubtedly be labeled with suspicion. By that time, if you were to go missing again, you would be hunted down. Just as this thought flashed through the minds of the nascent soul cultivators, two screams suddenly sounded in everyone's ears. Everyone immediately turned to look. Behind them, two golden core cultivators from the Liu family suddenly emitted black demonic aura when they were illuminated by the Grand Sun Mirror. They saw streaks of blazing golden light continuously ravaging the two golden core cultivators, causing their bodies to feel as if they were plunged into molten lava, emitting a sizzling sound as they were burnt. Liu Guangyao loomed ugly. In his eyes, an intense and overwhelming sense of killing intent instantly surfaced. Just as he was about to personally kill the two golden core cultivators from his family, Perfected Lord Wind Cloud, who was in front of everyone, raised his hand to stop him. Fellow Taoist Liu, can you let the Purple Sun Palace deal with these two? Although he sounded like he was asking a question, Liu Guangyao knew that he had no right to refuse. He nodded. Of course. However, fellow Taoist Wind Cloud, if you find anything, please inform me. Under my nose there are actually rats. I'm really ashamed. I decide to use this matter as an opportunity to rectify and discipline the families and sects under my jurisdiction. I hope that Taoist Wind Cloud can do me this favor. Perfected Lord Wind Cloud did not reject Liu Guangyao's request. Before long, the two of them were brought away by a nascent soul, standing next to Perfected Lord Wind Cloud. After a while, that nascent soul Perfected Lord returned to Perfected Lord Wind Cloud's side and handed him an investigation report. Perfected Lord Wind Cloud took the report and looked at it. Then, he handed it to Liu Guangyao and said indifferently, Fellow Taoist Liu, take a look yourself. I think you know better than us what to do next. As he spoke, he turned his gaze to the others present. Everyone, it's almost time. If there are no other questions, let's set off. Perfected Lord Wind Cloud waved his hand. In an instant, 3 incomparably huge level 5 battleships appeared in front of everyone. Each battleship could accommodate thousands of people. At the same time, these battleships were equipped with huge spiritual cannons that could launch level 5 attacks, enough to threaten nascent souls. Soon, everyone boarded the 3 battleships, following perfected Lord Windcloud's order. The 3 level 5 battleships roared like 3 ferocious beasts and instantly disappeared from the sky above the purple sun palace. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Powered by perfected Lord Windcloud, the 3 battleships reached their fastest speed. Boom! Finally, several days passed. The 3 battleships were suspended in front of a deep demon's lair. Wherever the eye could see, it was all desolation. In the air, there constantly drifted eerie and inexplicable wails that sounded like someone was suffering from endless torture. Level 6 Demonic Array, Purple Sun Heavenly Fire Array. This is the lair of that path of the extreme. At that moment, perfected Lord Windcloud looked at everyone and said in a deep voice, "Here there is a level 6 demonic array once set up by that old demon. To break it, you and I must exert our full strength. Otherwise, we won't be able to enter the core of this place, and we won't be able to eradicate them all. So, everyone, please don't hold back. Let's break this level 6 demonic array as soon as possible." At this point, perfected Lord Windcloud cupped his fists solemnly at everyone. Seeing this, everyone cupped their fists in return. No one asked how nascent soul cultivators like them could break this level 6 demonic array. Because everyone knew that since the Purple Sun Palace had asked them to come here, the Purple Sun Palace must have made enough preparations. They just had to do what they had to do. At that moment, perfected Lord Windcloud activated the battleship he was on and brought everyone to the lair that was thousands of kilometers in diameter. The demonic chi around here was clearly richer than elsewhere. The resentment, demonic chi, and death aura in the air were thick. Jiang Chengxuan could clearly sense that in such a place, it would not take long before the minds of cultivators below Violet Palace were bewitched and became demonic cultivators. No wonder the Purple Sun Palace only requested cultivators above Violet Palace to participate in this operation. Looking at the huge lair in front of them, a solemn expression appeared on everyone's faces. At that moment, perfected Lord Windcloud raised his hand. In an instant, the spiritual cannons on the battleship he was on suddenly began to glow. A formidable aura suddenly emanated from those spiritual energy cannons one by one. Boom, boom, boom. Nearly a dozen level 5 spiritual cannonballs blasted towards the lair. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, massive flames soared into the sky. Buzz. At the same time, a black, mushroom-shaped light shield suddenly lit up, protecting the lair from the spiritual cannons. Everyone's pupils constricted. That is, level 6 demonic array. Boom, boom, boom. It was also at that moment that all the spiritual cannons on the 3 battleships emitted a dazzling light. Force comparable to nuclear explosion kept smashing into the demonic array. However, when all of this ended, the level 6 demonic array was still intact. Affected Lord Windcloud's eyes suddenly narrowed. In the next moment, a huge flying sword that emitted green light suddenly rushed out from above his head. The flying sword was surrounded by an astral wind that could cut through everything. Phew! An extremely ear-piercing swish sounded in everyone's ears. Then, the enormous green flying sword ruthlessly pierced into the demonic array. The shield lit up again. At the same time, affected Lord Windcloud's urgent voice was heard. "Everyone, let's attack together and weaken the power of this array as much as possible." Boom, boom, boom. As perfected Lord Windcloud finished speaking, nascent souls, golden cores, and violet palaces attacked together. There were all kinds of spells, divine powers, and dharma treasures. Earth, water, fire, wind, lightning, ice, and other elements surged towards the level 6 demonic array. Dazzling flames instantly spread for thousands of miles. Demonic chi quickly evaporated under the combined attack of everyone. The wails, screams, and other sounds that were vaguely lingering in everyone's ears disappeared without a trace. From this, it could be seen how powerful the combined attack was. However, when all of this ended, the level 6 demonic array was still unaffected. This caused many people present to involuntarily gasp. Level 6 demonic array was actually so terrifying. Was this really something they could break with their mere level 5 strength? However, perfected Lord Windcloud and the others, who were in charge of leading the operation team, acted as if they did not realize this and continued to speak to everyone. Fellow Taoists, continue. With that said, perfected Lord Wind Cloud formed another hand seal. The green sword light that was like a meteor bombarded the level 6 demonic array again. Seeing this, the others followed suit. Just like that, this attack lasted for a few days. When the light of the level 6 demonic array finally dimmed slightly, perfected Lord Wind Cloud suddenly took out a bead from his hand. The bead emitted a yellow light. The moment Jiang Chengshuan and the others saw the bead, they recognized it. It was an Earth Elemental level 6 array breaking bead. So this was perfected Lord Wind Cloud's true trump card to break the array. Boom! As perfected Lord Wind Cloud activated the level 6 array breaking bead in his hand. Level 6 demonic array, purple sun heavenly fire array 2. The entire bead immediately turned into a yellow pillar of light that fell into the level 6 demonic array. Rumble! The world shook. In an instant, the level 6 demonic array, which had previously been impervious to everyone's attacks, showed clear cracks on its surface after being struck by the level 6 array-breaking bead. The cultivators present naturally would not miss such an opportunity. Immediately, attacks that were even fiercer than before landed on the level 6 demonic array. This time, the defense of the level 6 demonic array noticeably weakened. In just a moment, more and more cracks appeared on the black light shield. In the end, the cracks covered the entire black shield. Boom! Finally, when another wave of attacks landed on the black light shield, it could no longer be maintained. With a bang, the entire black light shield exploded into black light spots and scattered. Level 6 demonic array break. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, countless blood-colored shadows suddenly rushed out of the lair. A series of ear-piercing howls suddenly sounded in the air. Many Golden Core and Violet Palace cultivators on the 3 battleships were stunned, falling into a daze. Evil creature, how dare you! Suddenly, a loud shout resounded in everyone's ears. The cultivators who had been affected by the howls shivered and woke up. It wasn't until this moment that everyone finally saw clearly what the blood-red shadows rushing out of the lair were. They were, in fact, monstrous creatures with the heads of goats, the horns of cattle, humanoid bodies covered in blood-red scales, and enormous serpentine tails on their backs, surrounded by thick demonic chi. Their eyes were bloodshot and cold, revealing extreme cruelty. This was the legendary demonic monster, a fusion of demonic beasts and demonic cultivators. They completely abandoned the consciousness that belonged to demon beasts and demonic cultivators. The only thought in their minds was slaughter and destruction. They engaged in the most brutal, heartless, and ruthless slaughter of all living beings except for themselves. They really did not expect that there would be so many demonic monsters in the lair. Furthermore, from the looks of it, these demonic monsters were at least level 4. There were even 10 to 20 demonic monsters that had reached level 5. They were comparable to nascent soul-perfected lords of the human race and level 5 demon emperors of the demonic beasts. Most importantly, the blood of these demonic monsters was extremely polluting. Once a cultivator was accidentally scratched or killed by them, there was a 50% chance that he would be transformed into a new demonic monster. Therefore, in the cultivation world of the 9 essences, be it the humans or the demons, they all had a common understanding, which was that as long as they discovered the existence of a demonic monster, they had to eliminate it at all costs. They must not be given any chance to develop or even survive. At that moment, everyone looked at the many demonic monsters that had suddenly appeared with a rising panic in their heart. Even a few perfected lords who had just advanced to nascent soul had worried expressions. Fortunately, at that moment, perfected Lord Wind Cloud and the others from Purple Sun Palace suddenly threw out hundreds and thousands of array flags from their hands. Then perfected Lord Wind Cloud said, "Everyone, inject all your dharmic powers into the array disk in front of you and use the Purple Sun Heavenly Fire array to burn them to death." Upon hearing perfected Lord Wind Cloud's words, the cultivators present suddenly realized that there was a circular array disk in front of them. As long as they injected their dharmic powers into the circular array disk, they could form the Purple Sun Heavenly Fire array with the array flags that perfected Lord Wind Cloud and the others had thrown out. At that moment, no one hesitated and immediately injected their dharmic powers into the circular array disks in front of them. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In an instant, a burst of purple flames suddenly surged. In the sky, three huge purple pillars of light suddenly rose from the three battleships they were on. Immediately after, the three huge purple pillars of light spread out and formed a huge ring with the array flags. There was a loud bang. Within the huge ring, the heavenly fire burned intensely. In an instant, it drowned all the demonic monsters. Roar! Arg! The sound of the bodies being burned was heard. Accompanying it were the painful screams of the demonic monsters. It had to be said that the purple sun heavenly fire array was indeed the nemesis of these demonic monsters. In just a moment, all the demonic monsters below level 5 were burned to ashes by this array. The remaining level 5 demonic monsters could still hold on. However, if nothing unexpected happened, their demise was only a matter of time. However, things in this world were often not satisfactory. Just as everyone was using the purple sun heavenly fire array to burn the remaining level 5 demonic monsters, a few more dozens of figures flew out from the lair not far away. These figures were none other than the demonic cultivators hiding in the lair. Each of them was at least at the false nascent soul realm. Among them, 3 had reached the late-stage nascent soul. As soon as these people appeared, they threw out many array flags without a word. Every array flag was engraved with countless ferocious demon heads. Those with weak primordial spirit or unstable minds would most likely be sucked in by the demon head patterns as long as they looked at them. In this short period of time, many cultivators were affected by the demonic array flags, causing the injection of dharmic power to stop. Roar! The level 5 demonic monsters trapped in the array sensed that there was a delay in the operation of the array and immediately erupted with all their strength in an attempt to break through the array. Perfected Lord Windcloud and the others' expressions turned cold when they saw that. He reached out and flipped his hand. 3 purple sun heavenly fire talismans that had reached high-grade level 5 appeared in his hand. As he activated the 3 purple sun heavenly fire talismans, the power of the array that originally had begun to weaken instantly increased. Boom! A purple flame that was thousands of feet long suddenly enveloped all the demonic monsters in the array. Even the dozens of demonic cultivators were greatly affected. In almost no time, more than 10 false nascent soul and early-stage nascent soul demonic cultivators were burned to ashes by the purple sun heavenly fire. These demonic cultivators clearly did not expect this at all. By the time they reacted, not only did they lose more than half of their companions, but most importantly, the remaining level 5 demonic monsters were all reduced to nothingness by the purple sun heavenly fire. Run! At this moment, the remaining demonic cultivators were no longer in the mood to stay. As they channeled their dharmic powers and activated the array flags with all their might, they transformed into streaks of light and fled into the distance. If it was before, they would have wanted to use the geographical advantage here to teach perfected Lord Windcloud and the others a lesson. However, in the current situation, they couldn't be bothered to do that. The level 6 demonic array had blocked perfected Lord Windcloud and the others, but it also blocked the escape path of the demonic cultivators. Otherwise, they would have run away. Initially, they wanted to make use of those demonic monsters to buy them some time to escape. However, they did not expect that the Purple Sun Palace was more prepared than them and did not give them any chance. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Seeing the remaining demonic cultivators fleeing hurriedly, perfected Lord Windcloud and the other perfected lords looked at each other and nodded. Perfected Lord Windcloud said, "Everyone, chase after those demonic cultivators with me. My Shifu said that we can't let any of them escape today." As soon as he finished speaking, he took the lead to attack. The huge green flying sword slashed out. The light on the surface of the demonic array that those demonic cultivators had hurriedly set up immediately began to dim. When the others saw this, they did not hold back. They took out their true treasures and attacked the demonic array. Boom, boom, boom. A terrifying power erupted. The array set up by those demonic cultivators did not last long before it was shattered by the group of cultivators led by perfected Lord Windcloud. At the same time, perfected Lord Windcloud, perfected Lord Chuan-Yang, and a late-stage nascent soul cultivator called Yao Heiqiang, who was also from the Purple Sun Palace, chased after the 3 nascent soul demonic cultivators. The remaining nascent soul cultivators also found their targets and chased after them. Swoosh, swoosh. In no time, the fleeing demonic cultivators were gradually caught up to by the group. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan also intercepted 2 nascent soul demonic cultivators each. Unfortunately, both of these demonic cultivators had reached the mid-stage of nascent soul. As they saw Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan catching up, their eyes revealed a sinister and vicious look. "Just a mere early-stage nascent soul dares to block our way. You are seeking death." One of the hook-nosed demonic cultivators snorted. The next moment, endless wails of agony erupted from behind him. A huge flag that was 1,000 feet long charged at Shen Ruyan, with the cries of countless wraiths. Meanwhile, the demonic cultivator, wearing a bamboo hat beside him, also stretched out his hand. Shriek! In midair, a long saber wrapped in layers of black demonic flames transformed into a demonic creature that was 1,000 feet tall and had 3 heads and 6 arms. Roaring, it charged directly at Jiang Chengxuan. HMPH. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan snorted in their hearts. The next moment, Shen Ruyan rubbed her hands. Crack! A golden bolt of lightning with the demon-suppressing attribute suddenly appeared above the hook-nosed demonic cultivator's head. The hook-nosed demonic cultivator's pupils constricted, and he could not help but exclaim, "Divine Devilbane Lightning! You actually!" Boom! Before the hook-nosed demonic cultivator could finish, the divine Devilbane lightning that Shen Ruyan had only comprehended after 30 years of seclusion exploded around him. In an instant, golden light intertwined. The demonic chi around the huge demonic flag that the hook-nosed demonic cultivator took out immediately evaporated. Even the countless vengeful spirits inside were wiped out. In fact, as the power of the divine Devilbane lightning continued to erupt, on the surface of the devil flag there were holes of different sizes. Arg! For no reason, the hook-nosed demonic cultivator immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. The divine Devilbane lightning that Shen Ruyan used was too effective against demonic cultivators like him. He could not even unleash 50% of his strength. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, Jiang Chengxuan's figure suddenly expanded to 500 feet. Behind him, the phantoms of Dragon, Elephant, and Emperor flashed at the same time. The powerful demon-suppressing fist technique forced the 3-headed and 6-armed monster to retreat. With the last punch that carried all his might, the 3-headed and 6-armed monster was completely defeated and turned back into a long saber surrounded by demonic flames. However, at this moment, only a thin layer of demonic flames was left on this demonic saber. The entire saber trembled and wailed. Obviously, it was severely damaged. This scene also made the bamboo hat demonic cultivator's pupils constrict, and he was shocked, not expecting his 2 opponents to have special methods against demonic cultivators. Boom! Shriek! At this moment, dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky. Terrifying lightning danced in it. Shen Ruyan made a hand seal and pointed downward. Boom! In an instant, Shen Ruyan's intrinsic true treasure, the falling thunder heavenly seal, immediately unleashed a vast amount of Devilbane lightning. The ferocity of its power and the grandeur of its momentum were absolutely unparalleled, the likes of which were rarely seen in a lifetime. This was also due to her use of the honeycomb thunder stone over the past 30 years, which had enhanced the power of the falling thunder heavenly seal. At this moment, the falling thunder heavenly seal had evolved to a level where it could fully bear all of her thunder-related divine abilities and unleash various types of divine thunder. Moreover, the lightning divine powers and various lightning bolts unleashed through the falling thunder heavenly seal was several times greater than that of ordinary lightning and thunder. In almost an instant, the hook-nosed demonic cultivator and the one wearing the bamboo hat were completely engulfed within the range of the thunder. Damn it! The expressions on both of their faces changed involuntarily. Just as they were about to counterattack, a green, red, yellow, white, and blue light suddenly flashed past their bodies. In an instant, the dharmic powers that had just gathered in their bodies immediately weakened. Even their primordial spirits felt waves of exhaustion. In a mortal sense, it was as if a mortal had not slept for 3 days. As a result, the defenses they had just conjured were instantly shattered by the thunderbolt unleashed by Shen Ruyan. Arg! The 2 of them could not help but scream. Bolts of silver, gold, and blue lightning continued to wreak havoc on their bodies, evaporating the demonic chi around them. Even the defensive demonic treasures they took out were ruthlessly knocked away. Oh no! The two of them felt a great sense of danger. They could no longer care about anything else, and immediately wanted to burn their nascent soul to escape. Meet the Heavenly Lord too. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a blue lightning net suddenly enveloped them. It was Shen Ruyan's another level 5 true treasure, the Orchid Lightning Net. This treasure was once her level 4 Dharma treasure. It was specially used to trap and restrain enemies. Shen Ruyan had painstakingly refined it to elevate it to level 5. Now deployed, it effectively blocked the last escape route of the two demonic cultivators. Crackle! In the blue lightning net, all kinds of lightning wreaked havoc. No matter how the hook-nosed demonic cultivator and the bamboo hat demonic cultivator resisted, struggled, were unwilling, and were furious, they could not avoid the outcome of being defeated. After a while, Yang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan, watching the two demonic cultivators reduced to ashes within the lightning net, casually lifted their hands and drew the storage rings from the defeated foes. Arg! At the same time, in the distance, a late-stage nascent soul demonic cultivator was suddenly cut into two by a purple sword light. It was perfected Lord Chuan Yang's personal sword, the purple cloud sword. Yang Chengshuan and Shen Ruyan could not help but look at each other as they watched perfected Lord Chuan Yang turn around and charge towards the other two great demonic cultivators who were fighting perfected Lord Wind Cloud and the others. Without hesitation, the couple charged towards the nascent soul demonic cultivators who were fighting perfected Lord Flowing Snow and the others. Several hours later, when the last nascent soul demonic cultivator was surrounded and killed by the nascent soul perfected lords jointly, their mission was basically completed. Looking at the dark and deep demonic lair in front of him, perfected Lord Wind Cloud did not let everyone enter. Instead, he took out another talisman from his body. The surface of the talisman was engraved with endless purple sun heavenly fire. In addition, streaks of purple lightning danced in it. An aura that could make any nascent soul cultivator tremble suddenly emitted from the talisman. Level 6 Purple Sun, Divine Lightning Talisman. Some cultivators recognized the talisman in perfected Lord Wind Cloud's hand and could not help but exclaim, "Buzz, buzz, buzz." The Purple Sun, Divine Lightning Talisman, in perfected Lord Wind Cloud's hand, shone brighter and brighter. The terrifying pressure made all the cultivators present instinctively retreat. This aura was too terrifying and powerful. That was not a power that a nascent soul cultivator could resist head-on or even resist. Crackle, crackle, crackle. In the end, with the talisman as the center, the surrounding heaven and earth essence chi began to surge violently. Flames and lightning that were either huge, distorted, or dazzling began to appear in front of everyone. Jiang Chengshuan, Shen Ruyan, and the others clearly realized that there were black cracks in the void that were invisible to the naked eye. They were void cracks. The Purple Sun Divine Lightning Talisman actually caused so much pressure on the void that it cracked. Jiang Chengshuan, perfected Lord Flowing Snow, perfected Lord Star Sea, and the others could not help but feel shocked. The power of level 6 was actually so terrifying. One could clearly see that perfected Lord Wind Cloud's forehead was already covered in sweat. The hand holding the Purple Sun, Divine Lightning Talisman, began to tremble uncontrollably. Clearly, even with his cultivation and strength, it was still quite a task to completely activate the level 6 talisman. Fortunately, perfected Lord Wind Cloud was already prepared for this situation. Just as the dharmic power in his body was about to be exhausted, a spiritual stone the size of a goose egg suddenly appeared in his other hand. The spiritual stone was flawless and emitted a gentle white light. It was an extremely rare top-grade spiritual stone. This kind of spiritual stone was quite useful even to heavenly lords. As expected of the personal disciple of heavenly Lord Purple Flame, perfected Lord Wind Cloud actually had such a treasure. Buzz. With the help of the top-grade spiritual stone, the dharmic powers that were about to be exhausted in perfected Lord Wind Cloud's body were immediately replenished, enabling him to fully activate the level 6 Purple Sun Lightning Talisman. Boom! As perfected Lord Wind Cloud threw out the Purple Sun, Divine Lightning Talisman, he immediately ordered everyone present to leave. After everyone boarded the 3 battleships and flew 10,000 miles away, someone suddenly discovered in horror. In the direction of the demonic lair, an incomparably huge purple mushroom cloud suddenly rose. The flames and lightning intertwined in it. The terrifying power swept across a radius of thousands of miles. It evaporated everything around it into the smallest particles. Demonic chi and demonic layers were simply unable to withstand a single blow from a power of that level. From the source, it erased all traces of their existence. Rumble. It was only at this moment that a huge explosion that shook the heavens and the earth quickly sounded from the direction of the demonic lair. At this moment, the two sides were nearly tens of thousands of kilometers apart, but the terrifying sound still made some cultivators' ears bleed. Their heads were also dizzy and their vision black. One could imagine that if they had left a little later, then other than nascent soul-perfected lords, almost no one present could survive the aftershock of such a power. This was the true might of level 6. There was an unimaginable distance between that and level 5 nascent soul. They did not stay on the spot for long. After perfected Lord Wind Cloud and the others confirmed that the demonic lair and the surrounding radius of thousands of kilometers were razed to the ground, they ordered everyone to quickly return to the Purple Sun Palace. A few days later, the group arrived at the Purple Sun Palace. After returning to the Purple Sun Palace, perfected Lord Wind Cloud immediately gave everyone the corresponding contribution points according to their contributions. And these contribution points could be exchanged for the cultivation resources from the Purple Sun Palace. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan had killed 2 mid-stage nascent soul demonic cultivators together. At the same time, they helped the other perfected lords kill many nascent soul demonic cultivators. Therefore, they had a total of 500 contribution points. Although these 500 contribution points did not seem to be a lot. However, it was enough to exchange for many level 5 spiritual items. Among them was the Transcendence Pill, a pill that could allow nascent soul cultivators to break through. However, what Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan needed the most was not this kind of pill. What they needed was a treasure that could upgrade their star's chain array to level 5. It was a treasure called the Astral River Crystal. The exchange price for such a treasure was 400 contribution points. Regarding this, the couple only hesitated for a moment before exchanging it. Jiang Chengxuan used the remaining 100 contribution points to exchange for a treasure called the North and South Divine Magnet. This item could raise his dual polarity Divine Mountain to level 5. After the two of them exchanged for the treasures they needed, just as they were about to bid farewell to perfected Lord Wind Cloud and the others, perfected Lord Wind Cloud suddenly stopped them and said that his Shifu, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, wanted to see them. Although the two of them had expected this, they could not help but be a little surprised when this moment really arrived. Before long, perfected Lord Wind Cloud brought the couple to a rather quiet purple bamboo forest. There, a middle-aged man in a purple robe was playing chess with a young man in blue. There was no fierce fluctuation on the two of them at all, just like two ordinary people in the mortal world. However, both Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan knew that the two people in front of them were not ordinary people. They were the two heavenly lords that they had seen from afar. The owner of the Purple Sun Palace, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean from the Black Sea Pavilion. Family Tangbesheng's visit. Why don't we stop here for today? At this moment, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean had clearly seen Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Then he turned to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. Greetings, Senior Purple Flame. Senior Infinite Ocean. Seeing the two heavenly lords looking at them, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan didn't dare to delay. They immediately stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Beside them, perfected Lord Windcloud also had a respectful expression. Greetings, Shifu. Greetings, Senior Infinite Ocean. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame first nodded at his disciple before asking him to leave. After perfected Lord Windcloud left, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame and Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan again. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame smiled and said, "Young friends, there's no need to be so polite. The reason I want to see you is because firstly, Xuan Yang has mentioned you in front of me many times. Secondly, I want to use this opportunity to form a good relationship with you." Huh? Hearing Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's words, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were clearly surprised. At that moment, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame flipped his hand. A purple talisman appeared in his hand. The surface of the talisman was engraved with the pattern of the purple sun heavenly flame. From the terrifying fluctuations coming from it, the talisman that Heavenly Lord Purple Flame took out was the famous high-grade level 5 talisman of Purple Sun Palace, the Purple Sun Heavenly Fire Talisman. They had already seen the power of this talisman when they were in the demonic lair. They knew that this was a talisman that posed a threat even to peak nascent soul cultivators. Moreover, it could be used 3 times. In other words, such a talisman was equivalent to 3 full-strength attacks from a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. Its power was even greater. Now that Heavenly Lord Purple Flame took out such a talisman in front of them, could it be? Just as this thought flashed through their mind, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame smiled and nodded at them. I believe all of you have already guessed it right. That's right, the talisman in my hand is a top-grade level 5 talisman unique to my Purple Sun Palace, the Purple Sun Heavenly Fire Talisman. This time you came to my Purple Sun Palace. I don't have anything to give you for the time being. I'll give you this Purple Sun Heavenly Fire Talisman as a greeting gift. As soon as he finished speaking, the Purple Yang Heavenly Fire Talisman in Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's hand floated in front of the couple. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan couldn't help but hesitate. However, in the end, the two of them still reached out to take it and said gratefully to Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, "Thank you, Senior Purple Flame, for the treasure." Heavenly Lord Purple Flame smiled and waved his hand. "There's no need to stand on ceremony with me. As long as you can cultivate well and break through to the soul formation in the future and become my peers, that will be the best." One could tell that Heavenly Lord Purple Flame was genuine. Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean said with a smile, "Since fellow Taoist Purple Flame has given you a greeting gift, I might as well take this opportunity to form a good relationship with you." As he spoke, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean also raised his hand. A talisman that emitted endless water essence chi appeared in his hand. This talisman is called the 10,000 Sea Wave Talisman. It's the same as the Purple Flame Heavenly Fire Talisman fellow Taoist gave you. It's a high-grade level 5. After activation, it can release a tsunami vortex from the deep sea. It can also be used 3 times. Well, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan clearly did not expect that after Heavenly Lord Purple Flame, the ancestor of the Black Sea Pavilion, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, would give them such a talisman. Instinctively, the couple looked at Heavenly Lord Purple Flame. Heavenly Lord Purple Flame smiled immediately. Since its fellow Taoist Infinite Ocean's kind intentions, accept it. As long as you can cultivate well and strive to break through to soul formation, that will be the best repayment for me and fellow Taoist Infinite Ocean. Yes. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately accepted the 10,000 Sea Wave Talisman and said gratefully to Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean, "Thank you for the treasure, Senior Infinite Ocean." Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean also smiled and waved his hand. "You're welcome." Fellow Taoist Purple Flame has already said what needed to be said. In the future, you just have to follow his instructions. That way, you will not let us down. Next, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame did not let Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan stay any longer. After encouraging them for a while, he asked them to leave. Looking at their disappearing backs, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean could not help but look at Heavenly Lord Purple Flame. "Purple Flame, do you think highly of those 2 young fellows?" Heavenly Lord Purple Flame smiled. "More or less, but their future depends on themselves. You also know how difficult it is to break through to soul formation in the current situation of the 9 essences immortal world. There are fewer and fewer seeds with the potential to reach soul formation. At the very least, no one under us has the chance to advance to such a level. Now that I've finally seen 2 seeds with a little potential, I have to try my best to take care of them and form a good relationship, right?" At that point, Heavenly Lord Purple Flame could not help but pause before continuing. "Isn't that also the reason why you gave them a gift just now?" You've already said everything. What else do you want me to say?" Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean couldn't help but say with a smile. "But then again, the demonic calamity you and I are going to face this time is not going to be a small one. In fact, both of us have to be prepared to die." Suddenly, Heavenly Lord Infinite Ocean's expression became extremely serious. At the same time, after Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan came out of Heavenly Lord Purple Flame's place, they found Perfected Lord Chuan Yang and the others waiting for them. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang, and the others clearly knew why Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan left just now. However, at this moment, none of them asked anything. Affected Lord Chuan Yang smiled and nodded at the two of them. Fellow Taoists, if there's nothing else, let's go back together. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan naturally had no objections. Soon, they boarded a level 5 battleship of perfected Lord Chuan Yang and returned to the state of Yu. Tens of days later, Jiang Chengxuan and the others entered the state of Yu. After agreeing to meet perfected Lord Chuan Yang, perfected Lord Flowing Snow and the others next time, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned to the state of Jiang. After they brought their people back to the state of Jiang, they let the cultivators of the various sects return to their sects. The couple brought a group of Jiang family disciples back to Mount Mystic Tai. As soon as he returned to Mount Mystic Tai, Jiang Reni, who was in charge of guarding the family, found Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan, and told them that there was a nascent soul perfected lord who called himself Tang Beisheng and said that he was a good friend of the couple. He had come this time to join their family. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were surprised to hear Jiang Reni's report. They did not expect Tang Beisheng to successfully advance to nascent soul after so many years. Most importantly, he was actually willing to join their family. The couple looked at each other simultaneously. Jiang Chengxuan said, "Where is fellow Taoist Tang now?" Jiang Reni immediately replied, "Granduncle, that senior Tang is currently on our Jiang family's reception peak." "All right then." Jiang Chengxuan nodded at Jiang Reni, indicating that he already knew about this. Next, he and Shen Ruyan went to the Jiang family's reception peak. On the reception peak, the couple really saw Tang Beisheng. At this moment, Tang Beisheng's cultivation had indeed broken through to nascent soul. However, what made the two of them frown was that Tang Beisheng's aura was a little unstable. It was obvious that he was injured. When he saw Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan return, he was pleasantly surprised. He immediately went forward and cupped his fists. "Fellow Taoists, I came uninvited. I hope you don't mind." Jiang Chengxuan immediately smiled and shook his head. "Brother Tang, what are you talking about? It's our Jiang family's honor to have you here. Speaking of which, I haven't congratulated Brother Tang for successfully advancing to nascent soul. By the way." At this point, Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but pause for a moment before looking at Tang Beisheng. "I can see that Brother Tang's aura seems to be unstable. May I ask what happened?" Hearing Jiang Chengxuan's words, Tang Beisheng immediately smiled bitterly and nodded. "To be honest, before I came to your family, I had just escaped from the border between the human and demon races." What's going on?" Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were really puzzled. They did not understand why Tang Beisheng would go to the border between the human and demon races for no reason. As if he knew what they were thinking, Tang Beisheng explained. "To be honest, not long ago, a super large-scale ancient ruin appeared near Mount St. Flo, which is the border between the human and demon races. According to my speculation, that ruin should have been left behind by a heavenly lord." "What?" Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan's expressions changed. If what Tang Beisheng said was true, then a huge battle between the human and demon races would probably be unavoidable. Moreover, the scale of this battle was very likely to be at level 5. "Fellow Taoist Tang, are you sure you're not mistaken?" At that moment, Shen Ruyan could not help but ask. Hearing her words, Tang Beisheng smiled bitterly again. "Fairy Shen, I can guarantee you that I didn't make a mistake. Because before I came out, some perfected lords of the human race had already fought a huge battle with those level 5 demon emperors. The reason why I'm injured now is because of that battle. Moreover, this matter should not have spread far for the time being. However, I believe that it won't be long before this news spreads throughout the entire north border." Hearing Tang Beisheng's explanation, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were no longer suspicious. Just as Jiang Chengxuan was about to ask more questions, the family head, Jiang Reni, suddenly came to the reception peak and told Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan a piece of news. The content was about what Tang Beisheng had just said. The couple immediately turned to look at Tang Beisheng. Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but smile helplessly. "Brother Tang, it seems like the news spread faster than we thought." As he spoke, he handed a jade slip that Jiang Reni had given him to Tang Beisheng. Tang Beisheng reached out to take the jade slip. When he finished reading the contents, he could not help but sigh. "It's really as you said, Brother Jiang. According to this situation, it won't be long before nascent soul perfected lords of the human and demon races and level 5 demon emperors gather around Mount St. Flo. At this point, he looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and asked after some thought, "Do you plan to go? Brother Tang, what do you think?" Jiang Chengxuan asked instead. Tang Beisheng pondered for a moment and shook his head. "I can't say for sure, but as for myself, I want to go again. Because according to my understanding, there should be a lot of precious resources in that ancient ruin. Even for many late-stage nascent soul cultivators, it's very attractive. If you miss it, you do not know when you'll have this chance again. Most importantly, heavenly lords or level 6 demon sovereigns will not easily interfere with an ancient ruin of this level. Even if a life-and-death battle breaks out between the two races, the range will probably be limited to level 5. It's very unlikely that it will evolve into a level 6 battle." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan agreed with Tang Beisheng. Although this ancient ruin left behind by a soul formation, Heavenly Lord might contain some resources that even a Heavenly Lord could use. However, be it the humans or the demons, they would not easily break the balance between them because of this bit of resources. Most of them would let the nascent soul cultivators and level 5 demon emperors below enter the ancient ruins. If there were really any resources that they needed, it was not too late to snatch it without effort. This was also the main reason why Tang Beisheng thought that if nascent soul realm perfected lords like them entered the ancient ruins, they would have a chance to obtain some precious resources. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at Tang Beisheng. Jiang Chengxuan suddenly changed the topic. "Brother Tang, I just heard from Reni that you want to join my Jiang family, right?" Tang Beisheng clearly did not expect Jiang Chengxuan to suddenly change the topic. This stunned him. However, Tang Beisheng immediately came back to his senses. He did not deny it. Instead, he smiled and nodded. "That's right. I do have an idea to find a relatively suitable place to cultivate. After all, you also know that at our level, it's really not easy to find a suitable level 5 spiritual vein. So, that's why I thought of you. I just don't know if you will welcome me." "Why do you say that, Brother Tang?" Jiang Chengxuan couldn't help but smile and say, "If Brother Tang is really willing to join my Jiang family and become the Supreme Elder, my Jiang family will be more than glad to accept you. Even if you only stay in my Jiang family as a guest elder, I will be happy." Then I'm relieved." Tang Beisheng also replied with a smile. "In that case, on behalf of the Jiang family, I welcome Brother Tang to join us." Before Tang Beisheng could react, Jiang Chengxuan changed the topic. "All right, Brother Tang, now, we can continue with the topic just now." Tang Beisheng. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan immediately told all the elders of the Jiang family that Tang Beisheng had joined the Jiang family and become a supreme elder. This immediately excited the elders of the Jiang family. Obviously, they already knew that Tang Beisheng was a nascent soul cultivator. It was undoubtedly a great thing for the entire Jiang family to have such a nascent soul cultivator. At the same time, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Tang Beisheng arrived at a mountain peak filled with spiritual qi. One could clearly feel that the concentration of spiritual qi here had reached level 5. Moreover, it was purer and richer than ordinary level 5 spiritual qi. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan said, "Brother Tang, what do you think of this place? If there's no problem, you can cultivate on this mountain in my Jiang family from now on." Tang Beisheng nodded in satisfaction. "I have no objection to this arrangement. By the way," suddenly he thought of something and asked, "Brother Jiang, about the trip to Mount St. Flo, when should we set off?" "There's no hurry." Jiang Chengxuan smiled and said, "Brother Tang, after you recover from your injuries, we'll consider heading to Mount St. Flo. I also need some time to upgrade the Jiang family's defensive array." Tang Beisheng had no objections to this. After all, in his current state, it was indeed not safe to go to Mount St. Flo. Jiang Chengxuan bade farewell to Tang Beisheng and went to the core of the Jiang family's mountain-protecting array with Shen Ruyan. He took out the Star River crystal he had exchanged from the Purple Sun Palace. Jiang Chengxuan turned to look at Shen Ruyan. "Wife, I'm afraid I have to rely on you with this. I can assist you." After all, Jiang Chengxuan's attainments in array formations had yet to break through to level 5. If he recklessly used the Star River crystal to upgrade the Jiang family's mountain protecting array, there was probably a high chance of failure. In that case, it would be a tremendous loss. Shen Ruyan understood Jiang Chengxuan's intention. Hearing that, she reached out and took the Astral River crystal. Then she raised her hand and cast a few array formation spells. Buzz! The surface of the Jiang family's mountain protecting array suddenly rippled like water. In the sky, many stars fell. Shen Ruyan took this opportunity to integrate the Astral River crystal in her hand into the mountain protecting array. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately cooperated and cast a few array formation spells. With the couple working together, it didn't take long for the array to start borrowing the power of the stars in the sky to slowly accumulate energy. A few days later, as the Astral River crystal fused with the mountain protecting array, the astral power attracted by the array became stronger and stronger. A few days later, waves of ripples suddenly surged on the entire array. Countless resplendent stars gathered. A powerful force that even nascent soul cultivators feared burst forth. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan smiled in relief. They knew that their mountain protecting array, the star's chain array, had finally successfully advanced to level 5 at this moment. From then on, while they were not around, even if a nascent soul realm attacked, the Jiang family could use this array to resist for a long time. Whoosh! At the same time, Tang Beisheng suddenly appeared beside Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. He looked at the mountain protecting array that had already been upgraded to level 5 and could not help but sigh. I didn't expect the foundation of your family to be so profound. I really made the right choice to come. He, Brother Tang, you flatter me. Jiang Chengxuan turned to look at Tang Beisheng and asked, By the way, Brother Tang, how are your injuries? Are you all right? Tang Beisheng immediately smiled and nodded. I'm fine now. Speaking of which, I have to thank the spiritual vein here. If not for the spiritual chi of the spiritual vein here, my injuries would not have recovered so quickly. At this point, Tang Beisheng paused for a moment before looking at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan. We've almost settled all the matters at hand. About the trip to Mount St. Flo, when do you think it's more appropriate for us to set off? Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan looked at each other. Then Jiang Chengxuan smiled and said, If Brother Tang thinks it's okay, let's set off now. What do you think? Now? Tang Beisheng was obviously stunned. However, he quickly reacted and nodded with a smile. No problem, let's do this. I second that. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan nodded. After instructing Jiang Reni about things to pay attention to while they were away, they left Mount Mystic Tai and flew towards the distant Mount St. Flo. On the way from Jiang Nation to Mount St. Flo, they had to pass through many human territories. Before they could fly far, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan received messages from Perfected Lord Flowing Snow and Perfected Lord Star Sea at the same time. The content was all about Mount St. Flo. At the same time, they also asked Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan if they wanted to go on this trip to Mount St. Flo together. If they could team up, they could take care of each other. After all, according to the current situation, the trip to Mount St. Flo would definitely be very treacherous. Even if they were all nascent soul perfected lords, there was a high risk of them dying. That was why Perfected Lord Flowing Snow and Perfected Lord Star Sea made such a suggestion. After the last battle in the demonic lair, they knew what the Jiang couple was capable of. Especially in terms of character, both Perfected Lord Flowing Snow and Perfected Lord Star Sea thought highly of Jiang Chengxuan and his wife. After some discussion, Jiang Chengxuan and the other two decided to team up with Perfected Lord Flowing Snow and Perfected Lord Star Sea. The two sides agreed to meet up on a location. About 10 days later, the 5 of them gathered. Soon, Jiang Chengxuan introduced Tang Beisheng and Perfected Lord Flowing Snow to each other. After that, the 5 of them discussed the distribution plan. With everything settled, the 5 of them flew towards Mount St. Flo. As for why they did not invite Perfected Lord Chuan Yang of the Hidden Sword Palace, the reason was very simple. As a late-stage nascent soul cultivator, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang had his own circle. Their identities were different, and their strengths were different. If they joined forces, it might not necessarily be a good thing for each other. Therefore, both sides had a tacit understanding and did not invite each other. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 5 of them were very fast. In just 10 days, they crossed several human states. In the blink of an eye, the five of them approached the northern border. At this moment, there were fewer and fewer traces of human activity. As far as the eye could see, there were endless mountains and rivers. When they saw the five powerful lights flying across the sky, they could not help but feel awestruck. If not mistaken, the five seniors who passed by just now should be nascent, soul-perfected lords of the human race. This was not the first time they had seen nascent soul cultivators fly over. For them to fly past this place at such a high frequency, something major must have happened. And it was something known universally among all nascent souls. However, beneath this level, very few cultivators were aware of what was going on here. This was also a huge information gap due to the difference in realms. By the time they were informed of what was going on here, who knew how much time had passed? At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and the others had already arrived at an incomparably majestic city pass. This was also the first line of defense for the human race against the demons. It was called the Thousand Battle Pass. The implication was that even after tens of thousands of battles, this pass would still stand. One could see that the wall of the Thousand Battle Pass was painted dark red. It was the color of the blood of their human race, and the blood left on it after the demon beasts who came to attack them died. Just this scene alone was enough to instill a sense of chilling grimness and a trace of sorrow in the hearts of many human cultivators seeing this pass for the first time. Even Jiang Chengxuan and his fellow nascent soul-perfected lords couldn't help but feel solemn upon seeing this pass. This was respect for the countless human heroes who had been buried here in the past. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Without lingering too long in the air above, Jiang Chengxuan and his group quickly passed through. At this point, they had completely left the human territories. The road ahead, though not exclusively under the control of the demon race, was also not under human dominion. It was a chaotic land mixed with humans, demons, and beasts, where killings, battles, and plundering were common. Fortunately, being nascent soul-perfected lords, they were the absolute elite among cultivators. When they fully released their spiritual pressure, no demonic cultivator or beast dared to provoke them. Instead, they all avoided them like mice fleeing a cat, quickly escaping far away. Just like that, Jiang Chengxuan and the others finally approached a majestic mountain that was 80,000 feet tall after spending about 5 days. There was no end to this mountain, and it was surrounded by clouds all year round. Even a cultivator's divine sense could only unleash about 60 to 70% of its effect here. This was their destination, Mount St. Flo. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Jiang Chengxuan and his group landed on relatively flat ground. A sweep of their divine sense revealed that nearly 20 human cultivators were already gathered here. Including them, there were about 25 people. On the opposite side, huge and ferocious figures stood, emanating a wild and brutal aura. These were the level 5 demon emperors. Surprisingly, their number was even greater than that of the humans, reaching more than 30. These demon emperors were all blocking the entrance to a ruin, eyeing the human cultivators opposite them with a dangerous gaze. It was obvious that the demons did not want the humans to touch this ancient ruin. But Jiang Chengxuan knew that this was impossible. If the beast faction insisted on doing so, the only result would be a full-scale battle between the two sides. Boom! Just then, above their heads, atop Mount St. Flo, two equally immense and majestic figures appeared in the high sky, which was over 26,000 meters. One was a giant black flood dragon, its scales like forged steel, emitting a metallic luster. Its massive body, fully extended, was thousands of feet long, casting an endless shadow. The terrifying dragon might instantly made all living beings within 1,000 miles tremble in fear. Even the nascent soul cultivators like Jiang Chengxuan felt an inexplicable chill from the bottom of their hearts. This beast was one of the leaders of the demon beast race, a level 6 ink dragon demon sovereign. The other figure was enveloped in intense white light, his stature no less than ink dragon. The dharmic body behind him was completely unleashed. It was also thousands of feet tall. A white rui in his hand flickered. It was in a confrontation with ink dragon demon sovereign. He was one of the titans of the human race, a heavenly lord who had reached soul formation. Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain. Chengxuan tearing a level 5 demon emperor. Boom, boom, boom. The level 6 demon venerable and the heavenly lord confronted each other. The mere collision of their energy caused massive roars to erupt from the top of Mount St. Flo. When Ink Dragon Demon Venerable and Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain actually began to fight, the weather within 1,000 miles was completely altered. Torrential rain, howling winds, flashing thunder, and blazing fires. Especially near the center of their clash, visible black cracks appeared in the previously stable void. It was the spatial rifts that all cultivators below Soul Formation dreaded. These rifts contained wildly chaotic and violent energies, and inside were turbulent void storms. Any cultivator below Soul Formation caught in them would surely face certain death. Everyone was deeply shocked. They had never imagined that the mere residual effects of a clash at level 6 would be so terrifyingly powerful that even the void couldn't withstand it. They really didn't dare to imagine how terrifying the power at the center of the clash would be. Finally, after dozens of breaths had passed, Black Dragon Venerable and Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain gradually slowed down their fight, reaching a tacit understanding and finally stopping entirely. Their figures did not stay here any longer. Soon, they slowly disappeared under the gazes of the crowd. The meaning was obvious. That was, the Demon Venerables and the Heavenly Lords would not participate in the Battle of the Ruin. Everything would be up to the level 5 Demon Emperors and the nascent Soul Perfected Lords. At this moment, the atmosphere, which had eased due to the departure of the two awe-striking figures, became tense again. More than 20 Perfected Lords were confronting more than 30 Demon Emperors. They could see the strong killing intent in each other's eyes. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just then, 7 or 8 streaks of light approached from afar. The person in the lead was Perfected Lord Chuan Yang, whom Jiang Chengxuan and the others were familiar with. However, on the other side of Perfected Lord Chuan Yang, several demonic winds whistled over as well. It was led by a late-level 5 Great Demon Emperor, also an acquaintance of Jiang Chengxuan. It was the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor. Boom! When the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor and Perfected Lord Chuan Yang met, the man and demon showed no courtesy. Instantly, both sides erupted with ferocious auras. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, a series of roars erupted in the void where they were. Both visible and invisible energy waves continuously spread out. In the end, the two of them retreated at the same time and joined their respective camps. Jiang Chengxuan and the others immediately went forward and greeted Perfected Lord Chuan Yang. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang smiled and returned the greeting. However, at this moment, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan sensed danger in their divine sense. The couple hurriedly turned around. In the opposite camp, the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor, who had just arrived, was looking at them with an extremely cold gaze. Suddenly, the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor said, "Whoever kills those 2 human Perfected Lords for me will get this nether grass." It then revealed a plant emitting a green glow in its hand. Seeing this spiritual herb, many level 5 Demon Emperors present revealed desire in their eyes. It was obvious that the spiritual herb in the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor's hand was extremely beneficial to the demons. Even for level 5 Demon Emperors like them, it was no exception. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan narrowed their eyes. But before they could act, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang, standing beside them, stepped forward and said indifferently to the opposing Demon Emperors, "You can try and see whether your claws are sharper or my sword is." As he spoke, his gaze turned to the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor, and his voice suddenly became extremely cold. Then his gaze turned towards the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor, his voice becoming extremely cold. "Golden Wolf, if your demon race wishes to start a war here with our human race, then let's see who is stronger." As he spoke, a towering sword chi surged around Perfected Lord Chuan Yang, radiant and intimidating, like the sun in the sky or a 1,000-year-old glacier, filled with a killing intent. Seeing Perfected Lord Chuan Yang's formidable aura, the excited Demon Emperors showed fear and wariness in their eyes. After all, Perfected Lord Chuan Yang was famous among the demons. There were more than 3 to 5 Demon Emperors who had died under his sword. He was clearly supporting Jiang Chengxuan and the others. Previously, the human race was outnumbered by the demon race. However, after Perfected Lord Chuan Yang arrived, the difference in strength between the two sides was infinitely equal. Even if the Golden Wolf was also around. That's enough. At this moment, a demon emperor who was bathed in flames and looked like a phoenix suddenly spoke calmly. "The main purpose of us coming here this time is to explore the ruin. The intentions of the two seniors are clear. Instead of fighting here, why don't we enter the ruin first? It won't be too late to fight then. What do you think? The demon emperor who spoke was from the Phoenix clan. It reminded everyone not to forget their true purpose for being here. Even if there were grudges between the two races, there was no need to start fighting before entering the ruin. A pointless fight wouldn't do anyone any good. After all, they weren't here merely to kill. The Phoenix clan was a large clan that was backed by a level 6 demon. Venerable. In addition, this Phoenix demon emperor's cultivation had already reached the late stage of level 5. Therefore, its words carried a lot of weight. At this moment, when the demon emperors heard its words, they subconsciously turned to look at the golden wolf demon emperor. The golden wolf demon emperor laughed. Since Phoenix said so, I have no objections. But at the same time, my words remain valid. If anyone can kill this couple in the ruin, the nether grass in my hand will be yours. As soon as it finished speaking, the golden wolf demon emperor rushed into the ruin with its beasts. Seeing this, the demon emperors, including the human perfected lords, no longer hesitated. After looking at each other, they rushed towards the entrance of the ruin in tacit understanding. Xianxia and Shen Ruyan were among them. However, just as the couple Tang Beisheng, perfected Lord Flowing Snow, and perfected Lord Star Sea were about to charge into the entrance of the ruin, a huge shadow suddenly dashed towards them from afar. It was a huge black crow, one that had reached level 5. This demonic beast was currently in a period of bloodline transformation and thus extremely desirous of the nether grass. Not fully aware of the couple's strength, it attacked, intending to kill one of them first. Beside it was another level 5 blood crow demon emperor, its half-brother from a different mother, tasked with merely restraining one of them. Yang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan eyes immediately flashed with intense coldness. The two looked at each other and nodded. They decided to kill these two demon emperors swiftly to deter the others. At that thought, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan did not hesitate. Boom! Yang Chengxuan's figure suddenly rose. In the blink of an eye, it became 400 feet tall. Behind him, a huge phantom of a dragon and an elephant flashed past. At the same time, his demon-slaying talent was completely activated. As a green, red, yellow, white, and blue light swept past the two demons, a flying sword carrying endless sharpness rapidly enlarged in the pupils of the Black Crow Demon Emperor. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Black Crow Demon Emperor felt a sudden weakness, only to see a terrifying flying sword shooting rapidly towards its forehead. How come? It hadn't expected Jiang Chengxuan to be so powerful and threatening. Unfortunately, there was no turning back. The Black Crow Demon Emperor let out a loud cry as numerous black feathers, like a barrage of arrows, shot towards Jiang Chengxuan's flying sword. The black feathers collided with Jiang Chengxuan's flying sword, making clanging sounds in the air. However, to Black Crow Demon Emperor's horror, the black feathers it shot out were all cut off by Jiang Chengxuan's flying sword. Boom! At the same time, the Black Crow Demon Emperor suddenly felt his vision blur. When it looked again, it was shocked to discover that Jiang Chengxuan's burly figure had already appeared in front of it. You? Before the Black Crow Demon Emperor could say anything, it saw a huge fist suddenly enlarge in front of it. With a bang, the Black Crow Demon Emperor's huge body was sent flying hundreds of miles away. It crashed through a huge mountain. Arg! The Black Crow Demon Emperor let out a scream. However, right after it screamed, Jiang Chengxuan's body flashed and appeared in front of it again. This time, Jiang Chengxuan no longer held back. He grabbed the two wings of the Black Crow Demon Emperor and activated the body tempering technique, Infinite Wheel, to the max before tearing them apart. There was a tearing sound. The Black Crow Demon Emperor's huge body was actually torn into two by Jiang Chengxuan. In an instant, the Demon Emperor's blood that was as hot as magma fell on Jiang Chengxuan. When the rest of the blood fell to the ground sizzled and was immediately riddled with countless pits. There were also wisps of smoke billowing up. Silent, dead silence. No one, or rather, no Demon Emperor, expected Jiang Chengxuan's strength to be so horrifying. He actually managed to tear a level 5 Demon Emperor into two. Moreover, the time he spent was less than 10 breaths. Such strength made those early-stage level 5 Demon Emperors feel their hearts palpitate. If the one who attacked Jiang Chengxuan just now was not the Black Crow Demon Emperor, but them, would they have been torn apart by Jiang Chengxuan in the same manner? The answer was very likely. One had to know that the Black Crow Demon Emperor was not an ordinary Demon Emperor. It was said that a trace of the true blood of an ancient demon beast had awakened in its body. Its strength was not at all inferior to some mid-stage level 5 demon emperors. However, such a demon emperor was now. Boom! Arg! Just as the demon emperors were still in a lingering fear, a scream suddenly came from the sky, not far away. They quickly turned to look and saw a terrifying sword light, wrapped in brilliant thunder, piercing through the body of the Blood Crow Demon Emperor. The enormous body of the Demon Emperor was instantly blown into a cloud of blood mist in the sky. All the onlookers, particularly the Demon Emperors, sharply contracted their pupils in shock. Astonishingly, another Demon Emperor had been slain. Although the Blood Crow Demon Emperor was not as powerful as the Black Crow Demon Emperor, it was still a level 5 Demon Emperor. Yet, it was effortlessly obliterated. At this moment, everyone below late-stage level 5 looked at Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan differently. The fact that the two of them had killed 2 demon emperors in a row could not be explained by luck, especially since the time they spent was so short and they did it so effortlessly. These 2 people were not to be trifled with, as they concluded. For no reason, some demon emperors who had ideas about killing the couple immediately thought better of it. Let's go. Seeing that the other demon emperors were temporarily intimidated by their recent actions, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan decided not to linger any longer. After expressing their gratitude to perfected Lord Chuan Yang through voice transmission, they quickly called out to Tang Beisheng, perfected Lord Flowing Snow and the others, and rushed towards the entrance of the ruin. Tang Beisheng, perfected Lord Flowing Snow and perfected Lord Star Sea did not dare to be negligent and immediately followed the couple. At this moment, no more demon emperors came out to stop Jiang Chengxuan and the others. Instead, they made way. As soon as he rushed into the ruin, Jiang Chengxuan felt a familiar dizziness. Fortunately, with his current cultivation, this dizziness came and went quickly. After a while, he returned to normal. Looking up, he realized that the environment he was in was a vast valley. The valley was filled with spiritual qi. From time to time, he could see many spiritual birds and beasts flashing past his eyes. This was rare in the various ruins he had explored in the past. After all, most of the ruins were not like the outside world. There was no independent and complete rule system, let alone the conditions for living beings to survive for a long time. However, the ruin he was in was clearly an exception. Come to think of it, it made sense. This was a ruin left behind by a soul formation heavenly lord. It was naturally incomparable to the ruins that Jiang Chengxuan had explored in the past. After cultivators reached soul formation, they could comprehend the spatial laws related to this world and possessed the ability to open up a portion of independent space, creating an environment suitable for living beings. The only problem was that the upper limit of the cultivation of the living beings born in such an environment could not exceed level 6. They could at most reach the mid-stage of level 5. This was a constraint set by the rules. Looking around again, Jiang Chengxuan realized he had been separated from Shen Ruyan and the others, as the teleportation within the ruin was random. Fortunately, the 5 of them had already made preparations before entering. Everyone was equipped with a heart lock. With this, the 5 of them could check each other's location. They had already made an agreement. Once such a situation occurred, they would first try to gather with Jiang Chengxuan as the center. Those close to each other could also group up first. They would adapt to the situation as needed. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan took out his heart lock and realized that Shen Ruyan and the others were not very close to him. Even the nearest, perfected Lord Flowing Snow would take some time to reach him. Therefore, he decided not to wait and potentially miss opportunities within the ruin. At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan used the qi harvesting technique and fused the blessing qi he had gathered earlier into his body. On the other hand, he began to use the heavenly calculation technique to calculate. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan confirmed a direction and flew in that direction. Swoosh, swoosh. A streak of 5-colored light quickly passed through the sky. About 10 minutes later, Jiang Chengxuan stopped at the top of a huge tree that was 1,000 feet tall. He looked up to realize that at the top of the huge tree, there was a white flower that looked like a snow lotus. The flower was hexagonal and emitted a refreshing fragrance. This is level 5-6 Harmony's ice flower. Jiang Chengxuan was shocked. His previous calculations and blessing qi did not disappoint him. It had not been long before he discovered such a spiritual plant. The so-called 6 Harmonies ice flower was a treasure that could allow nascent soul cultivator to strengthen their divine sense. Moreover, it had the effect of dispelling inner demons. It could only grow in environments with the 6 Harmonies terrain, where the annual temperature variation did not exceed 3 degrees, and on the top of giant trees that embody the ice spirit attribute. It was a rare treasure in the outside world. It seemed that the true attribute of the tree should be the ice. Jiang Chengxuan looked up at the tree. However, at this moment, an almost imperceptible hiss suddenly appeared in Jiang Chengxuan's divine sense. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes lit up with spiritual light as he activated the heavenly eye of insight. At this moment in his eyes, a level 5 demon snake that was 600 feet long appeared, its color perfectly blended with the giant tree in front of him. Its vertical pupils, like 2 faint glimmers, suddenly lunged towards him. Hiss, hiss. That sound with a certain frequency that even divine sense could not detect appeared in Jiang Chengxuan's divine sense again. At this moment, he felt an inexplicable dizziness. That feeling was just like when he was teleported. As a result, he did not react at all to the snake's attack. Fortunately, at this moment, the vast heaven divine Jade in his sea of consciousness suddenly shone brightly. In an instant, it illuminated his entire sea of consciousness. Swoosh! At the same time, a wisp of smoke rose from his sea of consciousness. The wisp of smoke was instantly illuminated by the light from the vast heaven divine Jade and vanished without a trace. Originally feeling somewhat dizzy and as if in a dream, Jiang Chengxuan's spirit immediately jolted awake. Primordial spirit level, appearance of the flaming stone. Mind becoming a level 5 array master 2. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes instantly regained clarity. He was acutely aware of what had just happened, and because of this awareness, he was somewhat shocked. The level 5 demon snake in front of him. No, this was not a demon snake at all, but a demon spirit formed by various mixed divine thoughts. He was certain that the attack of the demon snake, if it could be called that, couldn't be resisted or dispelled by mere physical means. It required a counterattack at the soul level. With this in mind, Jiang Chengxuan no longer hesitated. In his sea of consciousness, a bow and arrow blazing with fierce flames rapidly took shape. Then there was a buzz. A whirring sound, perceptible only at the level of divine sense, resounded fiercely, directly confronting the level 5 demon snake. Boom! An immense explosion resounded in that instant, but bizarrely, there was no movement in the physical realm. However, at the level of divine sense, it was like a raging storm. The flaming arrow pierced through the demon snake, impaling it from head to toe. A more piercing hiss rang out in Jiang Chengxuan's sea of consciousness. However, with the protection of the vast heaven divine Jade, these mere noises couldn't affect him. Instead, under the attack of Jiang Chengxuan's burning sun arrow, the demon snake's body began to disintegrate and soon vanished completely. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan heaved a sigh of relief. The situation had indeed been somewhat perilous. He knew that without the vast heaven divine Jade protecting his sea of consciousness, the fight against the level 5 demon snake would not have ended so easily. If things went wrong, he might even suffer a huge loss. It seemed that he had to be more careful in the future. After all, it was a ruin left behind by a heavenly lord. It was unknown if there were any creatures with special abilities inside. Being too careless would only cause him to fall. As he thought about it, Jiang Chengxuan took out a special jade box from his body. Then he placed the 6 Harmonies ice flower into the jade box. After doing this, Jiang Chengxuan did not stay any longer. After confirming the next direction, he set out. Half a day later, Jiang Chengxuan had already flown out of the valley and appeared in an area that was like a volcano. Just the temperature on the surface had already reached about 60 degrees. Ordinary mortals and even qi refinement cultivators could not last a second here. Moreover, this was only the temperature at the periphery. As he walked deeper, the temperature around him increased. When Jiang Chengxuan arrived at the core area, the surrounding temperature had already reached more than 100 degrees. There were sporadic flames floating in the air. Jiang Chengxuan glanced around and immediately noticed some bumps in the surroundings. Most importantly, there was an extremely surging fire essence in those protruding areas. He gently pressed his hand on the bump and bent it slightly. There was a crack. That bump was broken off by Jiang Chengxuan. Immediately after, a red ruby-like light suddenly surged out from the hole of the broken bump. As the surrounding temperature continued to rise, a red gem the size of a goose egg rolled down. This is. Jiang Chengxuan immediately held the red gem in his hand. After a while, a shocked expression appeared on his face. Flaming stone, this was actually a flaming stone. Without any hesitation, Jiang Chengxuan expanded his divine sense, only to discover that this was actually a flaming stone mine. The so-called flaming stone was an extremely important strategic resource. Not only could it be used for weapon refinement and arrays, but it could also increase a cultivator's affinity with fire element and allow them to better comprehend fire elemental divine powers. At the same time, the mine itself could be used to nourish various fire elemental dharma treasures and even true treasures. In short, if this place was really an entire vein, its value would definitely be immeasurable. Bang, 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 bang. Jiang Chengxuan's heart was pounding. He knew very well what the consequences would be if others discovered it. So, he had to conceal this mine as quickly as possible. It was definitely not an easy task. He had to set up a corresponding array. Only then would he be able to occupy this mine without alerting others. Thinking of this, Jiang Chengxuan immediately raised his hand and threw out dozens of array flags. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In just an instant, the surrounding environment was covered by a layer of mist. Even the temperature was contained only within a limited range. This was the myriad illusion array. It was the strongest concealment array that Jiang Chengxuan could use at the moment. Then, Jiang Chengxuan continued to shoot out dozens of array flags that landed in 8 special spots. However, this was clearly not enough. If he really wanted to take away this mine, he would have to utilize a level 5 array called Floating Mountain Array. At that moment, Jiang Chengxuan took out a large pile of array materials from his body and quickly began to draw array flags. He planned to make the Floating Mountain Array here. Not only did he want to take away the mine, but he also wanted to use this opportunity to break through to level 5 Array Master. Fortunately, he had cooperated with Shen Ruyan to upgrade the Jiang family's mountain protecting array, which brought his array mastery infinitely close to level 5. Right now, he wanted to try to break through the bottleneck. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Dazzling lights kept lighting up in Jiang Chengxuan's hand. The light was extinguished, lit up, and extinguished again. It went on and on. After a few days, finally, when he tried to set up the floating mountain array for the 93rd time and failed, a strange array fluctuation rose from the array disk in his hand. Subsequently, the array disk vanished into thin air from Jiang Chengxuan's hand, and as he had previously set, integrated into the core area of this place. Boom! Just as the floating mountain array disk integrated into the core of this place, a slight tremor was immediately felt under the ground where Jiang Chengxuan was standing. Immediately, the surrounding fire elements began to go berserk. This made Jiang Chengxuan look solemn. He knew that the most critical moment had arrived. He must work in conjunction with the array he had set up to dislodge the core of the mine. That was the only way he could take away the entire mine. Otherwise, if there was any mistake in the process, it might cause this matter to fail. Ding! However, at this moment, a system notification suddenly sounded in Jiang Chengxuan's mind. Congratulations, host. You have reached level 5 Array Master. You have obtained a universal array breaking key and a Sumeru array disk. Needless to say, the former was what Jiang Chengxuan could use at the moment. The Sumeru array disk was a special array disk that could store any item indefinitely. Apart from living things that couldn't be stored, anything else could be stored in this array disk. Among them was the flaming stone mine that Jiang Chengxuan was currently trying to take away. Worm! Jiang Chengxuan was pleasantly surprised. It had to be said that the Sumeru array disk rewarded by the system was what he needed the most. Jiang Chengxuan did not hesitate. His figure suddenly grew taller. In the blink of an eye, it had reached 500 feet. A powerful force erupted from his body. Rumble! The ground began to shake violently. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed. The veins on his arms bulged. He grabbed the void in front of him. Boom! In an instant, a fiery red light erupted skywards. From above, one could see a 500 feet giant lifting the ground in front of him, exposing a long, crimson mind vein. Rumble! The surrounding area, for tens of miles, seemed to experience an earthquake of magnitude 10 or 20. Dust, flames, and boulders instantly obscured the sky. Crack! Bang! Simultaneously, the concealment array set up by Jiang Chengxuan could no longer withstand such power and shattered into pieces. Jiang Chengxuan's expression turned extremely solemn. He knew he didn't have much time left. He had to quickly put away the entire mind vein. Raise! Jiang Chengxuan shouted. In the next moment, his power surged again. The phantoms of a dragon and an elephant behind him merged into his body, multiplying his already formidable strength. Boom! It was like a nuclear explosion. A huge red ring surged into the sky, rapidly expanding in all directions with thunderous roars. At the same time, Jiang Chengxuan mobilized all his strength, stuffing the entire mind vein into his Sumeru array disc. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, at this moment, a streak of light suddenly flashed over from the distant sky. Jiang Chengxuan narrowed his eyes. A surge of intense killing intent burst forth from him, a clear warning to the intruder not to meddle in his affairs. However, the intruder did not retreat, instead speeding up. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes darkened. Fortunately, he was already near the end of putting away the mind vein. With a final loud bang, the remaining vein was completely collected into the Sumeru formation disk. At this moment, the area where Jiang Chengxuan was standing revealed a deep pit stretching for miles, resembling a vast, winding canyon with thick smoke swirling around. Whoosh! At that moment, a 600 feet worm, with red scales and 3 claws on its belly, appeared before Jiang Chengxuan. It looked at the huge canyon-like pit and sniffed the residual fire essence in the air. Its huge eyes immediately revealed an incomparably intense greed. This smells like flaming stone. Could this be a flaming stone mine? With that thought, the greed in its eyes involuntarily increased. Instinctively, the red worm turned its gaze to Jiang Chengxuan, who was not far away, and a ferocious expression appeared on its face. Are you trying to take away this mine? Hearing this red worm's words, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes immediately turned cold. He knew that there was no way to continue hiding this matter. He could not be bothered to waste his breath on such a demon beast and said coldly, "So what?" The red worm revealed a sinister smile. "Human, I know you. Don't think that you can challenge me just because you killed a trash like Black Crow. Now I'll give you a chance. Hand over the mind vein you just collected and submit to me. That way I might consider sparing your life. Otherwise..." At this point, the red worm suddenly, without any warning, conjured a massive fireball in its mouth. The fireball appeared orange red on the surface but was dark red inside, and it shot straight towards Jiang Chengxuan's head. The temperature in the air suddenly rose. The sporadically floating flames around them, stimulated by this enormous fireball, suddenly flared up again, burning even more intensely. As a result, the heat of this huge fireball increased by another 30%. Seeing this, Jiang Chengxuan was not surprised at all. He was already very wary of the red worm in front of him, ready to fight at any time. Therefore, the moment he saw the huge fireball, a blue turtle-shaped shield suddenly appeared in front of him. It was a level 5 defensive spell, the Tortoise Water Shield. Boom! When the fireball hit the Tortoise Water Shield, it immediately caused a violent explosion. Worm 2. Moisture instantly rose in the surrounding air. Swoosh! Amidst the rising mist, a sharp golden sword light suddenly magnified in the worm's pupils. Roar! The worm felt a needle-like piercing pain in its scales, realizing that it couldn't easily defend against the opponent's attack with just its physical body. In the next instant, a large bell appeared in front of it, its surface swirling with complex patterns and dragon figures. It was its true treasure, the Dragon Rune Heaven Bell, a treasure combining both defense and attack. Search Noon 0L on Google. Dong! Jiang Chengxuan's golden void sword actually let out a muffled sound like a drum when it struck the worm's bell. It was actually unable to break through the defense of the huge bell. Heather, kid, this is one of the ultimate treasures of our dragon clan. It's impossible for you to break it. Is that so? Jiang Chengxuan narrowed his eyes. The next moment, a five-colored radiance emerged behind him. He gently swiped it towards the worm and its bell. Seeing this, the worm's heart sank. It, along with many other demon emperors and human perfected lords, were already well aware of Jiang Chengxuan's divine power. They knew they must not be touched by his five-colored light, as it would greatly diminish their combat power. Therefore, the worm exerted all its strength to activate the bell, trying to resist Jiang Chengxuan's five-colored divine light. However, Jiang Chengxuan's divine light was not so easily resisted. In an instant, it swept over the large bell and also landed on the worm itself. Immediately, the once mighty worm felt an intense wave of fatigue flood its body, affecting both its demonic power and primordial spirit. Even the surface of the bell dimmed. Damn it! How come? What kind of divine power is that? Why can't it be blocked? Just as these thoughts flashed through the worm's mind, it saw an extremely dazzling golden light suddenly rise from Jiang Chengxuan's body. The golden light carried an extremely sharp aura, as if it could penetrate everything. The worm widened its eyes in shock. That is... Boom! Before it could react, the golden light had already landed on the bell. Boom, boom, boom. Instantly, a series of loud booms erupted from the bell. Twisted golden ripples scattered, striking the surrounding rocks and ground, causing a jarring sound. This was Jiang Chengxuan's another level 5 spell, named Golden Divine Light. As the power of this spell was about to dissipate, unexpectedly, another golden light shone from Jiang Chengxuan, flashing 3 times. That was 3 golden divine lights in succession. Even if the power of the spell was not as strong as a divine power, this continuous attack still posed a significant threat of death to the worm, especially when the 3 golden divine lights consecutively struck its bell, blowing the precious artifact of its dragon clan 100 miles away. Then Jiang Chengxuan reached out and grabbed at the void. There was a clang. Jiang Chengxuan pulled out a long saber with a green glow from the void and slashed at the worm that was at an absolute disadvantage. Damn it! The worm's expression changed drastically. At that moment, it no longer dared to be careless. Crimson light surged around him. Red, orange, and dark red flames suddenly appeared around it, transforming into meteor-like fireballs that clashed with Jiang Chengxuan's green saber. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, the sound of a nuclear explosion echoed. In midair, the green and red colors intertwined violently, twisting and spreading rings of terrifying ripples that carried destructive might. It turned everything in the vicinity into dust. Buzz! At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan raised his hand and made a hand seal. In the next moment, the sky, which had become extremely bright because of the attacks from both sides, suddenly darkened. One after another, huge meteorites fell like rain and quickly bombarded the worm. Looking at the number and scale, there were actually more than 1,000 of them. Such a scene, be it in terms of power or momentum, had already surpassed most divine powers. The worm could not believe that such a powerful attack was caused by a mere level 5 spell. How many times had this spell been cast? At least 7 or 8 times, perhaps. He was just an early-stage nascent soul cultivator. Where did he get so much dharmic power to cast so many spells in a row? It had to be known that the consumption of dharmic power for every level 5 spell was not small. But in the end, Jiang Chengxuan. Before the worm could think further, the meteorites had already arrived in front of it. Roar! The red worm immediately let out a heaven-shaking roar. Then its gigantic body continued to expand. Worm 3. In the blink of an eye, it reached 800 feet. It was also at this moment that every scale on its body shone with dazzling light. In the blink of an eye, a 2,000-foot-long crimson dragon phantom appeared above it. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, shook its head, and wagged its tail, emitting a terrifying dragon might. It faced many meteorites falling from the sky. Rumble! An explosion that was even more violent than before suddenly exploded. Search Noon 0L on Google. After enduring for a moment, the dragon phantom was shattered by the meteorites. The remaining meteorites continued to fall. The red worm had no time to react before its huge body was drowned by the meteorites. Ow! In the air, the scream of the red worm sounded. When everything dissipated, they saw a red worm lying in the deep pit with countless holes all over its body. Jiang Chengxuan did not show any mercy. A golden sword light flashed in front of him. The golden void sword slashed at the red wind's head. Roar! An extremely scarlet blood suddenly rose from the red wind's body. Immediately after, a demon baby that was about the size of an adult flashed out of the worm's body and quickly fled into the distance. Huh, you want to flee? Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed. In the next moment, a huge rock phantom flashed behind him. A huge roaring sound like a fighter jet diving swept across. When the worm turned its head to look at the situation behind it, it saw Jiang Chengxuan's cold eyes and a dazzling sword light that made its body go weak. You, how is this possible? Shriek. The cold sword light slashed across the worm and destroyed it in this ruin. Whoosh! In an instant, a huge amount of spiritual chi poured. Jiang Chengxuan did not dare to stay here any longer. After he raised his hand and put away the worm corpse, he found a direction and quickly disappeared. Not long after he left, several extremely powerful auras arrived here. The one in the lead was the Phoenix Demon Emperor. At this moment, it looked at the dilapidated scene in front of it and sniffed the faint familiar aura in the air. A hint of anger flashed in its burning eyes. Damn it! The red worm has fallen. What? The red worm has fallen. The other demon emperors following it could not help but be shocked. They all knew that the worm demon emperor was not an ordinary demon emperor. Not only did it have pure dragon blood flowing in its body, but its cultivation had also reached the mid-stage of level 5. It could step into the late stage of level 5 at any time. Ordinary peak mid-stage, nascent soul, perfected lords might not be its match. However, it died here. The demon emperors could not help but look at each other. After a while, one of the level 5 demon emperors with purple feathers and electric arcs around its body asked, Phoenix, do you know who killed Red Worm? As soon as it said this, the other demon emperors present could not help but look at the Phoenix demon emperor. Nourishing spring. Let me take a look. In the eyes of the Phoenix demon emperor, streaks of light suddenly flashed, as if it was rewinding time. Within those lights, scenes from earlier events in the area started to unfold. However, just as the images were about to focus on Jiang Chengxuan, they suddenly became blurred like a signal disruption, and an intensely dangerous aura was perceived by the Phoenix Demon Emperor, forcing it to immediately cease using its divine power. Even so, its eyes still bled, alarming the other demon emperors nearby. The purple lightning demon emperor who had just spoken could not help but ask, Phoenix, what happened? The Phoenix demon emperor's eyes were a little gloomy. It shook its head and said, I can't tell who did this, let alone divine this person's information. This is because that person has a method to block divination. If I forcefully deduct the other party's information, I will definitely suffer an extremely serious backlash. It might even be life-threatening. That's serious. Hearing the Phoenix Demon Emperor's words, the other demon emperors were shocked. They did not expect the other party to have such a method. No wonder he dared to kill the Red Worm Demon Emperor here. However, I roughly know why they were fighting here just now. At this moment, the Phoenix Demon Emperor continued. If I'm not wrong, there should be a flaming stone mine. Flaming stone mine. Shock appeared in the eyes of the demon emperors again. Not bad. The Phoenix Demon Emperor nodded. However, this mine is already gone. If I'm not wrong, it should have been taken away by the person who killed the Red Worm Demon Emperor. At this moment, the eyes of the demon emperors narrowed. Obviously, they knew very well how valuable a flaming stone mine was. It was obviously impossible for them not to be tempted at all. It was the same for Phoenix Demon Emperor. It looked at the demon emperors present and said calmly, Let's go. Even if that person takes away this mineral vein, it's impossible for him to hide it without leaving any traces. As long as he leaves a trace along the way, we can find that trace and track him down. As soon as the phoenix finished speaking, it took the lead and soared into the sky, flying into the distance. When the other demon emperors saw this, they could not help but look at each other before following the Phoenix Demon Emperor. At the same time, Jiang Chengxuan followed the direction given by the heart lock and quickly approached Perfected Lord Flowing Snow. A few hours later, Perfected Lord Flowing Snow appeared in Jiang Chengxuan's line of sight. However, Perfected Lord Flowing Snow seemed to be in a sorry state. Especially on her right shoulder, there was a wound so deep that bones could be seen. Fresh red blood was flowing out of the wound. Behind her, there were two figures chasing closely. Judging from their appearances and auras, They should be human perfected lords. Jiang Chengxuan immediately frowned. To be honest, in a place like this, if possible, he did not want to have any conflict with the human perfected lords. However, there were many things in this world that wouldn't go his way. Qinlong Tianjian, I've already given the soul-nourishing spring to you. Why do you have to keep pushing me? At that moment, perfected Lord Flowing Snow's cold voice sounded. Behind her, the two figures who were chasing after her sneered. A middle-aged man in a gray robe named Qinlong said, "Fellow Taoist Flying Snow, you should know that the soul-nourishing spring is one of 3 top-notch nascent soul formation treasures. Its value even far exceeds nascent soul condensation pill and the nascent soul cultivation pill. It's also very useful to mid-stage, nascent soul perfected lords like us. You think the two of us will let you spread the existence of such a precious treasure? Does that mean there is no room for negotiation?" Perfected Lord Flowing Snow's heart sank. She knew that since the other party had said so, there was really nothing left to talk about. Today, one of them had to fall. At the thought of this, Perfected Lord Flowing Snow felt a little bitter. She originally thought that this trip to the ruin would be an opportunity for her. Unexpectedly, not long after she entered the ruin, she faced the misfortune of dying. Life is really unpredictable. What she was most worried about now was not herself, but the Snow sect which had nurtured her. She was the only nascent soul cultivator in the sect. Once she died here, who knew what would happen to her sect in the future? She hoped that the Jiang couple would help take care of her sect for the sake of their past relationship. This was also what they had agreed on before entering the ruin. Once someone unfortunately died in the ruin, the others would have to take care of the sect or family of the deceased. Just as Perfected Lord Flowing Snow was about to fight to the death with the two of them, a familiar figure suddenly appeared in her line of sight. Who else could it be but Jiang Chengxuan? This made Perfected Lord Flowing Snow's despairing heart light up. "Fellow Taoist Jiang." Jiang Chengxuan nodded at her and flew up to Perfected Lord Flowing Snow. When Perfected Lord Flowing Snow saw that, she immediately told him what had happened. It turned out that Qinlong and Tianjian were both cultivators of the Celestial Law sect. Speaking of the Celestial Law sect, it could be considered a large nascent soul sect in the northern border where puppet technique was the main practice. It was very strong and influential. Just now, Long and Tianjian had both discovered a pool of soul-nourishing spring. Perfected Lord Flowing Snow knew that she was not a match for Qinlong and Tianjian, and was willing to give the soul-nourishing spring to them. However, the two of them did not want the news of the soul-nourishing spring to be leaked, and launched a sneak attack on Perfected Lord Flowing Snow. Even though Perfected Lord Flowing Snow was wary of the two of them and was prepared for a confrontation, their cultivation and strength were both higher than hers. After a round of fight, Perfected Lord Flowing Snow was at a disadvantage and was severely injured. After listening to Perfected Lord Flowing Snow's explanation, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes turned cold. At this moment, Qinlong and Tianjian had already arrived before the two of them. When they saw Jiang Chengxuan suddenly appear, they immediately frowned. The two of them did not know much about Jiang Chengxuan in the past. However, from his performance outside the ruin earlier, this person's strength could not be underestimated. If it were any other time, the two of them might have just walked away. However, the soul-nourishing spring was really important. They really did not want anyone else to know. Therefore, they could kill Jiang Chengxuan as well. Jiang Chengxuan had already expected their reaction. Under normal circumstances, a perfected lord who belonged to a big sect like the Celestial Law sect would not take a nascent soul cultivator from a small sect too seriously. So, when Jiang Chengxuan sensed the ferocious glint in their eyes, he did not waste any time and chose to attack first. Boom! In an instant, 3 majestic dragons surrounded by endless flames pounced at Qinlong and Tianjian. "You're courting death." Killing intent flashed across Qinlong and Tianjian's eyes. They clearly did not expect Jiang Chengxuan, who had just appeared, to attack them first. Did he really think that he could fight against 2 perfected lords who came from a large nascent soul sect just because he killed a peak early-stage level 5 demon emperor? At this moment, a level 5 humanoid puppet appeared beside them. The puppets were covered in a layer of special metal. It gave people the feeling that they were 2 war machines. Swoosh swoosh. In an instant, 2 sword lights shot out from the 2 puppets to meet the 3 fire dragons. At the same time, Qin Long and Tian Jian were not idle. The two of them formed hand seals. In the blink of an eye, a battle axe and a spear charged towards Jiang Chengxuan and perfected Lord Flowing Snow. From the aura emitted by the battle axe and spear, these two treasures had clearly reached the level of a true treasure. Moreover, it was not an ordinary true treasure. Buzz! Snow Lotus appeared above perfected Lord Flowing Snow's head. The Snow Lotus spun rapidly, scattering ice flowers. Yang Chengxuan raised his hand and swung it. The golden void sword turned into an invisible sword light that met the spear. Rumble. Several attacks collided. The originally calm sky immediately exploded with a series of loud bangs. The eyes of the zenith nascent soul in Jiang Chengxuan's body suddenly widened. The next moment, a tsunami-like dharmic power was injected into his golden void sword. There was a clang. The spear that was in a stalemate with Jiang Chengxuan was immediately sent flying by Jiang Chengxuan's golden void sword. What? Seeing this, Tian Jian was shocked. His figure staggered back in midair. He retreated continuously in midair until he hit a mountain, creating a cloud of dust before stopping. However, at this moment, two balls of flame suddenly rose from Jiang Chengxuan's hands, then the two balls of flames fused. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The red and a white flame rapidly twisted and entangled, forming a red and white fireball. It left a long, charred trail in the sky and quickly approached Tian Jian. Oh no! Sensing the dangerous aura emitted by the fireball, Tian Jian's expression changed drastically. There was no time to think. An aqua-blue barrier immediately appeared in front of him. Ripples flowed. Like an inverted giant bell, it shielded Tian Jian behind it. However, that was not all. Tian Jian made another hand seal. The golden light in the eyes of one of the puppets that was killing a flame dragon suddenly lit up. In the next moment, its figure became blurry. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Tian Jian. A huge sword light that was 100 feet long instantly condensed in the puppet's hands and slashed forward. Shriek! The sound of cloth being torn apart was heard. The aftershock of the whistling sword Qi immediately blew up a huge pit in the ground below. However, when such an extremely ferocious sword light came into contact with the red and white fireball that Jiang Chengxuan threw, it was like ice and snow meeting boiling oil. With a swish, it evaporated without a trace. Then the fireball continued forward. The puppet's hands suddenly opened up a barrier in an attempt to block the fireball. However, this was obviously in vain. The moment the seemingly small fireball touched the barrier created by the puppet, the entire barrier immediately began to shake violently. In less than a tenth of a second, the barrier shattered. Then the fireball pierced through the puppet's body. The light in the puppet's eyes instantly extinguished. There was a loud bang. The fireball collided with the aqua-blue barrier. Instantly, a mushroom cloud like a nuclear explosion billowed upwards, engulfing the area in dense fog. Large amounts of fog rose around him. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan raised his hand and suddenly grabbed at the void in front of him. There was a clang. A green saber was slashed out by him. As this long saber slashed out, an emperor-like phantom flashed behind him. That was not all. Yang Chengxuan clenched his fist. A terrifying power suddenly poured out of his body. Boom, boom. Two terrifying fist shadows that were enough to obliterate a mountain chased after the green saber. Rumble. At the same time, the red-white fireball and the aqua-blue shield exploded at the same time. A mushroom cloud displaying red, white, and blue colors wildly spread in all directions. Arg! Tian Jian immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Tian Jian suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not expect Jiang Chengxuan to be much stronger than he had imagined. Even if he and Qin Long joined forces, they might not be able to defeat him. At the thought of this, Tian Jian immediately had the intention to retreat. At this moment, he obviously couldn't care less about whether the news was leaked or not. He immediately raised his hand. The spear that was sent flying by Jiang Chengxuan turned into a stream of light again and faced the green saber that was slashing at him. Meanwhile, he reached out and wiped his storage ring. A low-grade level 5 defensive talisman was completely activated. As a yellow light flashed, a yellow light shield appeared on Tian Jian's body. Bang! Clang! Just as Tian Jian finished doing all of this, Jiang Chengxuan's Azure Emperors Heaven-slaying saber had already collided with the spear. In an instant, an ear-piercing metal explosion resounded in the sky. Tianjian's spear kept trembling and bending. In the end, with a clang, the entire spear was sent flying again and stabbed into a mountain 500 miles away. Only the end of the spear was left trembling. How is that possible? Tianjian's expression changed again. However, at this moment, two extremely magnificent fist shadows appeared in front of Tianjian. Boom, boom. The yellow light barrier on Tianjian's body kept trembling. In the blink of an eye, countless cracks appeared on the surface. A trace of fear finally appeared in Tianjian's eyes. He looked at Jiang Chengxuan, who was rushing towards him, and couldn't help but say in horror, "Fellow Taoist Jiang, stop. I'm a cultivator of the Celestial Law sect. If you kill me, a war will definitely break out between your Jiang family and my sect." "Is that so?" Jiang Chengxuan's expression was indifferent. "Black square, then I only need to wipe you out here. Who will know that it's me who killed you? There are so many level 5 demon emperors here. It's very likely that you will die at the hands of those demon emperors." "You?" Tianjian wanted to say more, but at this moment, the yellow light barrier on his body was suddenly shattered by Jiang Chengxuan's 2 punches. The remaining force struck his body directly, causing it to crack all over. "Senior brother Qin, save me." As soon as Tianjian spoke, Jiang Chengxuan pointed his fingers like a sword and slashed at Tianjian's body. There was a swish. The sword chi swept past Tianjian's body. As soon as his nascent soul flew out of his body, a sharp golden divine light flew past his nascent soul. Arg! In an instant, countless dense holes appeared on Tianjian's nascent soul. Then, with a bang, it completely turned into spiritual chi that scattered and dissipated. At this moment, Qin Long had just reacted. When he saw Tianjian being killed, his eyes narrowed. He was a little shocked. One had to know that Tianjian's cultivation and strength could be said to be similar to his. Since Tianjian could be killed by Jiang Chengxuan, didn't that mean that he was also in danger? Furthermore, he also had to deal with perfected Lord Flowing Snow. Once he was entangled, even if he wanted to escape, he would probably not be able to. Thinking of this, Qin Long made a decisive decision. He raised his axe and forced perfected Lord Flowing Snow to retreat temporarily. Then, without a word, an extremely explosive light swirled around him, and he fled into the distance without looking back. "Jiang, the Celestial Law sect will remember this. In the future, we will make you pay for this." As he spoke, Qin Long had already fled hundreds of kilometers away. A hint of anxiety flashed through perfected Lord Flowing Snow's beautiful eyes. She knew very well how much trouble she would be in if she let Qin Long escape this time. Therefore, she endured the injuries on her body and wanted to chase after him. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a lightning-like figure suddenly flashed past her. "Fellow Taoist Flying Snow, leave this person to me. Stay and heal your injuries." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chengxuan quickly caught up to Qin Long. This shocked Qin Long, who was escaping with all his might. How could the other party be so fast? One had to know that he had already used his full strength. In the end, he was still no match for Jiang Chengxuan in terms of speed. Boom! Just as these thoughts flashed through his mind, he saw that Jiang Chengxuan, who was chasing after him, had already thrown several punches at him. At the same time, he threw the yin and yang divine flame again. Swoosh, swoosh. A long charred mark flashed across the air, shocking Qin Long. He knew how terrifying Jiang Chengxuan's attacks were. He hurriedly took out his true treasure to face the attack. Buzz! However, what greeted him was a 5-colored light that carried green, red, yellow, white, and blue. In just an instant, Qin Long felt an extreme weakness overwhelming him. Boom! At this moment, a huge flame suddenly rose in the air and spread in all directions. The various defensive treasures on Qin Long's body shattered one by one. Clang, clang. At the same time, 7 green saber beams suddenly condensed and slashed at Qin Long. Qin Long, who had just left the center of the explosion, suddenly saw the huge saber light that seemed to cover the sky. He instantly felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave from head to toe, and his expression changed drastically. "No, Brother Jiang, stop. I discovered a very important secret about this ruin. Please." Puff! Before he could finish speaking, a huge green saber light that seemed to cover the sky slashed past his body. In an instant, Qin Long's body turned into a bloody mist. Even the nascent soul in his body could not escape the slash of the saber light and turned into nothingness on the spot. Only a spiritual chi tsunami was left scattering in a radius of several kilometers. After a while, Jiang Chengxuan put away the storage rings on the two of them and quickly left with perfected Lord Flowing Snow. A moment later, the two of them landed on an empty mountain. Jiang Chengxuan gestured for perfected Lord Flowing Snow to continue recuperating while he tried to erase the restrictions on the two storage rings. After he erased the restrictions, he immediately scanned them with his divine sensu. The first thing he saw was a large pool of spiritual spring water that was glowing with spiritual light. That was the soul-nourishing spring that perfected Lord Flowing Snow mentioned previously. Not only was this item the most precious and most effective among the three nascent soul formation treasures, but it was also a holy item that could remove the impurity and dharmic power in a cultivator's body. It could make the dharmic power in your body purer and more refined. Even for late-stage nascent soul cultivators, it was quite useful. Therefore, its value was unquestionable. In addition to this nascent soul spring, Jiang Chengxuan also found several level 4 puppets and many materials for refining puppets in their storage rings. It included many level 5 materials. Lastly, there were some pills, true treasures, and tens of thousands of spirit stones. It could be said that just the things on these two people had already made Jiang Chengxuan a small fortune. Buzz. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan suddenly sensed a stronger spiritual chi fluctuation coming from perfected Lord Flowing Snow beside him. He turned around. Perfected Lord Flowing Snow had already stopped healing. Amen, fellow Taoist Flowing Snow, have you recovered from your injuries? Perfected Lord Flowing Snow nodded. Almost. As she spoke, she looked at Jiang Chengxuan gratefully. Fellow Taoist Jiang, thank you for your help this time. You saved me again. Jiang Chengxuan smiled and shook his head. Don't mention that. You and I are friends to begin with. This small matter is nothing. As for the soul-nourishing spring, since you discovered it first, you should have a share of it. As he spoke, a jade bottle appeared in Jiang Chengxuan's hand. Affected Lord Flowing Snow shook her head hurriedly. Fellow Taoist Jiang, please don't. You should put it away. One could tell that perfected Lord Flowing Snow was extremely sincere in saying so. Obviously, no matter what Jiang Chengxuan said, she would not accept the spiritual spring. Jiang Chengxuan didn't insist and nodded. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. When we find similar treasures later, we'll distribute them. As soon as he finished speaking, the two of them raised their heads and looked at the distant sky. There, 3 streaks of light suddenly appeared. Swoosh, swoosh. When they approached, a smile appeared on Jiang Chengxuan's face. Wife, Brother Tang, and fellow Taoist Starcy, you're finally here. That's right, the owners of the 3 streaks of light were Shen Ruyan, Tang Beisheng, and perfected Lord Starcy. When the two sides met, they had a short talk. Soon, Jiang Chengxuan learned from Shen Ruyan that they had experienced no less than 2 or 3 battles along the way. The largest battle involved 4 level 5 demon emperors. As far as they knew, there were no less than 4 or 5 level 5 demon emperors and perfected lords who had died in this ruin. And this was not including the red worm demon emperor who had died under Jiang Chengxuan, as well as Qin Long and Tian Jian, 2 perfected lords from the Celestial Law sect. As for the gains, there were some. According to Shen Ruyan, they had already obtained several level 5 spiritual herbs and several level 5 precious materials. The gain was considered quite a lot. Just as the 5 of them were discussing and thinking about what to do next, a bright light suddenly rose from the distant sky. There seemed to be many treasures floating in the light. Jiang Chengxuan and the others' hearts skipped a beat. The 5 of them realized that some extraordinary treasure was about to appear. In an instant, the 5 of them looked at each other and saw a trace of eagerness in each other's eyes. Without much hesitation, the 5 of them quickly decided to go to that place to take a look. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 5 powerful rays of light immediately flashed across the sky. After a moment, Jiang Chengxuan and the others approached the light. Looking around, they realized that there were many people who had arrived. Other than human perfected lords like them, there were also several level 5 demon emperors. Moreover, as time passed, perfected lords and level 5 demon emperors continued to arrive from afar. Thinking about it, it was not strange. No one was blind to such an obvious phenomenon. As long as they could, they would definitely rush over. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan had already retracted his attention from the people around him and turned to look at the brilliant light that was still soaring high in the sky. There seemed to be strange runes flickering in the light. Looking closely, one seemed to be able to see some ancient words. However, neither Jiang Chengxuan nor perfected Lord Flowing Snow recognized those words. Jiang Chengxuan turned to look at Shen Ruyan and asked, "Wife, do you recognize those words?" Shen Ruyan shook her head. "I don't know, but—" At this point, she seemed to have thought of something and couldn't help but frown. Then she continued, "Judging from the situation here, it is very likely to be a test." Test? This statement caused everyone to look at her in surprise. Shen Ruyan nodded. "That's right. If I'm not wrong, if you and I continue to stay here, we will be admitted to this test. The only thing I can't be sure of now is whether the test here is dangerous. If there's danger, it's hard to say how many people can come out in the end." Hearing her words, everyone could not help but look at each other. If what Shen Ruyan said was true, then what was the purpose of the owner of this place setting up such a test? Just as Jiang Chengxuan and the others were thinking about this, many streaks of light suddenly flashed over from the distant sky. The lights had terrifying auras. It was perfected Lord Chuan Yang, who had reached the late-stage nascent soul, as well as the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor and the Phoenix Demon Emperor. Boom! When perfected Lord Chuan Yang and the others arrived, the surrounding spirit qi immediately surged. Without any unnecessary words, the humans and demons immediately formed a clear camp. Jiang Chengxuan immediately felt that several pairs of eyes were on him and Shen Ruyan. One of the gazes was the most oppressive, not hiding the maliciousness at all. It was from the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor. HMPH. However, at this moment, a cold snort immediately resounded in the sky. It was perfected Lord Chuan Yang. As he snorted, Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan immediately felt the pressure on them disappear. The two of them cupped their fists and greeted perfected Lord Chuan Yang. Perfected Lord Chuan Yang smiled and shook his head at them. Then, he sent a voice transmission to them with a rather solemn tone. "Fellow Taoists, if I'm not wrong, this should be a test place set up by the owner of this ruin for us. Upon entering, there might be quite a bit of danger. If you plan to enter later, remember to be careful. You have to be especially careful of the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor and the others. They will seize every opportunity to attack you. If that really happens, the two of you must remember to prioritize protecting yourselves." Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were shocked by perfected Lord Chuan Yang's voice transmission. They did not expect perfected Lord Chuan Yang to have some understanding of the situation here. From the looks of it, he should be about right. At that moment, the two of them sent voice transmissions to perfected Lord Chuan Yang and expressed their gratitude. Just as Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan were about to say something, the runes on the light in front of them suddenly disintegrated and turned into a huge light screen that spread out. Everyone present did not even have time to react before they were enveloped by the light screen. Chapter 527, The Ancient War, The Real Test, Unyielding Faith, The Undying Flame. The scenery before Jiang Chengxuan's eyes rapidly changed. He was surprised to find that Shen Ruyan and the others who were previously beside him had disappeared. Moreover, he seemed to have arrived at a battlefield. Around him were the sounds of shouting and killing. Sword lights, blade shadows, severed limbs, broken arms, blood. They were everywhere. Jiang Chengxuan immediately checked himself and found that his clothing had changed to the exclusive attire of the ancient times. Thank goodness. His cultivation, dharmic powers and divine powers did not change because of this. It was still the same as before. Suddenly, a group of people appeared in front of him in a hurry. Jiang Chengxuan glanced and was surprised to find that every one of these suddenly appearing people had reached nascent soul. Among them, two had a cultivation that gave him a sense of vastness, like the starry sky. Needless to say, the cultivation of the two of them had definitely reached soul formation. However, at this moment, the two of them had sorrowful expressions. When they saw Jiang Chengxuan standing there, their eyes immediately revealed a trace of anger. One of the women in colorful clothes said, "Gu Cheng, why are you still here? Why aren't you leaving yet?" Gu Cheng. Is this the name of my body?" Jiang Chengxuan's heart skipped a beat. In the next moment, before he could react, several abnormally dazzling lights suddenly rose in the distant sky. Like stars, three figures that were hundreds of feet long made a move. There was a loud bang. On the other side, a giant that was also hundreds of feet tall suddenly flickered. Immediately after, the four figures collided. An earth-shattering scene suddenly appeared in front of Jiang Chengxuan and the others. They could clearly see the sky wailing and the earth cracking. Seas many miles away violently surged towards the sky. Hundreds of feet away, the ground spewed out scorching magma like a tsunami. In an instant, the sky turned dark red. Family Head, the colorful robed woman, and the other burly man couldn't help but cry out in sorrow. Tears immediately streamed down their cheeks. However, they quickly came back to their senses. They gritted their teeth and turned to Jiang Chengxuan and the others. Run! With that, without waiting for Jiang Chengxuan and the others to respond, they took out a flying shuttle. Jiang Chengxuan and the other nascent soul cultivators could not react at all and were swept into the flying shuttle. Then the flying shuttle turned into a stream of light and flew thousands of kilometers in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the battle in the distant sky was still ongoing. Under the siege of the other three huge figures, the light around the giant became weaker and weaker. The faces of the colorful robed woman and the others became paler and paler. No one knew better than them what this scene meant. However, at this moment, more than 10 lights suddenly appeared around their flying shuttle. The aura of every streak of light was not inferior to the current Jiang Chengxuan. 5 of the auras were exactly the same as the colorful robed woman. Jiang Chengxuan looked around. He found that those who appeared around them were all from ancient races. Single-horned creatures with 3 eyes. The fire spirit race, whose bodies were 99% made of fire elements. And the Protoss, who was naturally attuned to certain laws. At this moment, as soon as they appeared, they split up in different directions and wanted to besiege them. The expressions of the colorful robed woman and the burly man immediately changed. Similarly, they did not waste any time. Their essence blood and primordial spirits instantly burned crazily. At the same time, the woman in colorful clothes threw a seal to Jiang Chengxuan and shouted, "Gu Cheng, we will hold them back. You take everyone away." With that, before Jiang Chengxuan could react, the woman slapped the flying shuttle. Buzz! In an instant, the entire flying shuttle suddenly burst into flames. With a swoosh, it instantly passed through the gaps between the chasers. Jiang Chengxuan and the others who were in the flying shuttle watched in a daze. No one expected that the 2 soul formation heavenly lords would sacrifice themselves to save them. Boom, boom, boom. Violent explosions erupted in the distant sky. Within hundreds of thousands of miles, the area turned into desolation. They self-destructed. This thought flashed across Jiang Chengxuan and the others' minds. Why? Jiang Chengxuan could not understand. It was not easy for them to cultivate to the soul formation. They had 5,000 or even tens of thousands of years of lifespan. Wasn't it good to be alive? Jiang Chengxuan was certain. If the colorful robed woman and the burly man were determined to escape, they had more than 40% chance of escape. However, in the end, none of them chose to escape. Instead, they left all the chances of survival to them. If it happened in the 9 essences cultivation world, at least in Jiang Chengxuan's opinion, such a thing was unimaginable. Perhaps it was because his current realm was not high enough to understand the other party's feelings or even thoughts. However, no matter what, since the other party had given them a chance to live, Jiang Chengxuan would definitely not miss it. At that moment, he and the others present drove the flying shuttle with all their might. After an unknown amount of time, when Jiang Chengxuan and the others finally stopped, they found themselves in an idyllic paradise, filled with the chirping of birds and fragrant flowers. This place was obviously separated from the outside world by a barrier. Without the proper method or the seal in Jiang Chengxuan's hand, they would have been unable to enter. Brother Gu Cheng. At this moment, a group of children arrived in front of him. Jiang Chengxuan was surprised to discover that every one of these children was born with a Tao body. In other words, they were a natural cultivation seed. Moreover, they all had started cultivating. The highest was even at the late-stage foundation establishment. Could this be the cultivation aptitude of the ancient people? Jiang Chengxuan talked with these children. Soon, he knew that this was the last stronghold of the human race in this world. Their mission was to continue the human race. One of the most important rules was that the strong had to protect the weak. Especially when they were in danger, the strong had to take the initiative to bear the responsibility. It was also because of this principle that this human race could continue to survive after experiencing countless extermination crises. They had never given up hope. Ding! At the same time, a long-lost system notification suddenly appeared in his mind. Achievement mission released. Host, please complete 100 teachings. Huh? Hearing the system's notification, Jiang Chengxuan's heart skipped a beat. Did the system issue this task at this time signify something? After much thought, Jiang Chengxuan still couldn't figure out the key point and the true purpose of this test. All this way, it was as if he had personally witnessed a great war and the various encounters of the human race in the past. Another thing that puzzled him the most was that such an unbelievable power could really be created by a mere soul formation ruin. With these puzzlements, Jiang Chengxuan began to live in this paradise. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. In 100 years, Jiang Chengxuan had completely integrated into the life of this world. He was also following the system's instructions and teaching everyone who was willing to follow him. It had to be said that the cultivation talent of the humans here was indeed extraordinary. Even those with the worst potential had reached the late stage of Violet Palace after 100 years. As for those with outstanding aptitude, without exception, they had all reached Golden Core. Some of them had broken through to nascent soul not long ago. As for Jiang Chengxuan, his cultivation had also improved greatly in such a good environment. From the original 3rd level of nascent soul to the 4th level of nascent soul, he finally reached the 5th level. In addition, he also used some spare time to raise his Dharma treasure, the dual polarity divine mountain, to the level of true treasure. Of course, the greatest gain was still the reward given by the system. After 100 teachings, he obtained a level 6 pure yang true treasure, the teaching ruler, and a ball of merit purple chi. The former contained part of the rule force. If the opponent disrespected the teaching of the Tao, this treasure could suppress the enemy by 30%. It also had a significant enlightening ability. Using this treasure to teach could increase the comprehension of the disciples by 30%. As for the latter, the system did not give a specific explanation for its usage. However, Jiang Chengxuan speculated that the value of this item might be the most precious treasure he had ever obtained. Teacher Jiang, Teacher Jiang. At this moment, several disciples under him suddenly rushed to him. These people were all disciples who had been personally taught by him in the past 100 years. Everyone's cultivation had at least reached mid-stage Golden Core. However, at this moment, everyone's faces were filled with anxiety and uneasiness. This made Jiang Chengxuan frown. He turned to look at a young man in blue and asked, "Huyan, what's going on? Did something happen?" When the blue-robed young man he called Huyan heard this, he immediately took a deep breath. Only then did he calm down and report to Jiang Chengxuan. "Teacher Jiang, Fei Hong and Wan Yun's soul lamps have become abnormally dim. I suspect that they might have encountered something unexpected outside." "What did you say?" Hearing Huyan's words, Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed slightly. After all, Fei Hong and Wan Yun were the two most talented disciples he had in the past 100 years. They both had cultivated to nascent soul. Faith the undying flame, 3. If they continued to work hard, it would not be long before their cultivation surpassed his. They were also the hope for the future of their cultivation world. However, at the moment, the two were facing deadly danger. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes flickered. Now he could basically say for certain that the danger the two faced might be a trap, specifically targeting veteran cultivators like him. Once he brought the other nascent soul cultivators out to save Fei Hong and Wan Yun, it was very likely that they would encounter an ambush. Based on his understanding of this world and his deductions over the years, this situation was almost certain. Then there was the problem. Should he or the others save the two young disciples when they knew that it was a trap and that it was extremely dangerous? If they went, they would likely face ambushes, possibly leading to their demise. But if they didn't go, the last hope for their cultivation world might be dashed. Jiang Chengxuan looked up at the disciples present. Their faces were filled with determination. Clearly, they had also thought of what Jiang Chengxuan had thought of just now. Everyone knew very well what the outcome would be if they went. However, even so, they had no intention of giving up on their clansmen. This might be the cohesion of the human race in this era. Jiang Chengxuan smiled. He looked at everyone present and said in an unprecedentedly serious tone, "I'm informed of this matter. All of you stay here. No one is allowed to go out without my permission. As for Fei Hong and Wan Yun, I will go and save them." As soon as he finished speaking, all the disciples present were puzzled. However, Jiang Chengxuan didn't give them a chance to ask more questions. In a flash, he had already disappeared from everyone's sight. In the next moment, he arrived at the edge of the barrier. After using the seal to specially reinforce the array, he did not hesitate anymore and flashed out of this space. Perhaps this is the true test given to me this time. As Jiang Chengxuan thought, he flew in the direction where Fei Hong and Wan Yun might be. A few hours later, Jiang Chengxuan landed in a deep canyon. Here, he really saw Fei Hong and Wan Yun tied to the spirit binding pillar. The two of them were obviously severely injured. The spiritual pressure on their body was a little unstable. At this moment, when the two of them saw Jiang Chengxuan, they revealed a look of anxiety. "Teacher Jiang, hurry up and leave." Buzz. Just as the two of them finished speaking, pillars of light that flickered with strange runes suddenly rose from the ground. These pillars of light were connected to each other, forming an array that completely isolated the outside world. At the same time, 3 nascent soul cultivators from different races appeared in Jiang Chengxuan's vision. Jiang Chengxuan's eyes narrowed. After living here in this world for 100 years, Jiang Chengxuan had already familiarized himself with most of the races. The 3 in front of him were from the Naga race, the Fire Spirit race, and the Protos race. Moreover, each of them had reached the late-stage nascent soul. Most importantly, the array that was set up here seemed to have an extremely powerful suppression effect on Jiang Chengxuan. For the 3 of them, it had a special amplification effect. With the addition of 3 late-stage nascent soul cultivators, Jiang Chengxuan was in dire danger. Fei Hong and Wan Yun, who were bound to the spirit binding pillar, couldn't help but reveal expressions of despair when they saw this scene. They wanted to struggle. However, as soon as they struggled, the spirit binding locks on their bodies emitted waves of spiritual light. Not only did it restrict their cultivation and movements, but it also strangled their bodies until they bled. Jiang Chengxuan was silent for a moment before looking at the 3 people opposite him and saying calmly, "In order to deal with me, you guys really put in a lot of effort." The blue-haired woman from the Naga race smiled coldly. "If not, how can we lure you out? Do you know, to deal with you, to extinguish the last spark of your human race, just how much have we done?" "Is that so?" Jiang Chengxuan also sneered. At this moment, he suddenly seemed to have understood something. He looked at the 3 people in front of him and said with unprecedented confidence, "A race like yours will never understand. The reason why the spark of the human race never distinguishes is not because of me, nor is it because of a certain person. It is because of the faith in the hearts of every human. From mortals to cultivators, it's the same. Even if there are only a few hundred, dozens, or even a few of us left, as long as the faith in their hearts is not extinguished, the spark of our human race will never be extinguished." Teacher Jiang. Fei Hong and Wan Yun suddenly realized something and struggled much harder. However, at this moment, green, red, yellow, white, and blue lights suddenly appeared behind Jiang Chengxuan. Without waiting for the 3 opposite to react, the 5-colored brilliance had already swept over them. In an instant, the 3 of them felt an incomparably weak feeling from their minds, bodies, and dharmic powers. This made their expressions change drastically. What kind of strange divine power is this? Boom! At the same time, an immensely vast and terrifying aura suddenly emanated from Jiang Chengxuan's hand, where a rule-like object was gradually taking shape. At this moment, Jiang Chengxuan's entire being was glowing. It was the light of the Tao that came from his heart. It was also the light of enlightenment. Teacher Jiang. Fei Hong and Wan Yun instantly burst into tears as they knew what this meant. It was the ultimate sublimation, using the burning of one's life, faith, and soul to generate supreme power. Under this power, even a deified heavenly lord would tremble in fear. However, using the power obtained in this way, the price was to return to dust. Not a trace of your existence would be left behind. In other words, he would completely disappear from this world. Jiang Chengxuan turned to glance at Fei Hong and Wan Yun, and the level 6 pure yang treasure in his hand, the teaching ruler shot out a gentle light, enveloping them. Not only did it completely release their bonds, but it also instantly healed their injuries. Yet this only deepened their sorrow. They wanted to take action, even to take Jiang Chengxuan's place. But as soon as they had this thought, they were shocked to find that they were bound by an incredibly strong force. They could not move at all. Teacher Jiang. In desperation, the two could only shout out again. But at this time, Jiang Chengxuan no longer looked at them, instead turning his gaze to the three whose faces were becoming extremely fearful, and slowly said, "You plotted and schemed against me. Little did you know, from the moment you schemed against me, your fates were also sealed. Actually, I should thank you, for you have enlightened me to many things and revealed the truth of this world. But even so, your fate cannot be changed." As his words fell, the light from the teaching ruler in Jiang Chengxuan's hand became even more dazzling. That was the ultimate light of humanity and enlightenment. "No, stop, stop." The blue-haired woman and the other two immediately shouted in fear. Buzz. Light flashed past. Their bodies, like sand castles pushed over, slowly collapsed and finally dispersed into grains of sand and disappeared. Boom! At the same time, the pillars of light around, flickering with strange runes, also began to crumble and extinguish, eventually disappearing completely. Accompanying this, Jiang Chengxuan's figure also began to disintegrate bit by bit in the ascension of this light. Teacher Jiang. No, teacher. Don't go. Don't leave. Suddenly, Fei Hong and Wan Yun, knowing what was about to happen, threw themselves at Jiang Chengxuan's feet, crying bitterly. Jiang Chengxuan looked at them, a very gentle smile appearing on his lips. The future of the human race is now in your hands. Remember my words, as long as the faith in your heart does not extinguish, our human race's spark will never die. This I leave to you. With Jiang Chengxuan's last words, his entire being finally turned into a ray of light and shot into the sky. After flickering for a while, he completely disappeared. In front of Fei Hong and Wan Yun, a ruler and a seal appeared. They stared blankly. It wasn't until a long time later that they came to their senses, inevitably bowing in the direction where Jiang Chengxuan disappeared. "We will heed your teachings." Images kept flashing past Jiang Chengxuan. In a daze, Jiang Chengxuan felt like he had a very, very long dream. In the dream, he seemed to have come to the ancient times and lived a long time there. When he completely woke up from his dazed state, he realized that he was in a sealed stone room. A faint yellow light fell from above and landed on an ancient stone platform in front of him. There were 3 items placed there. Jiang Chengxuan suddenly shuddered. It was only at this moment that he suddenly felt that his cultivation was still at the 5th level of nascent soul. To readers, our content is stolen. Please copy and see at RCH this link https://tineural.com/39hpcn6j to support us. Moreover, his original level 4 Dharma treasure, the dual polarity divine mountain, was also at the level of a level 5 true treasure. Even the ball of merit purple chi, rewarded by the system, was still there. The only thing missing was the level 6 pure yang true treasure, the teaching ruler. What is going on? Was what I experienced earlier real or an illusion? If it was real, then why am I safe and sound here now? But if it was an illusion, how do I explain the advancement in my cultivation? Jiang Chengxuan suddenly realized that the ruin they had come to was probably not as simple as it seemed. It was precisely because he thought that it was only a test that he had unhesitatingly sacrificed himself, knowing that what he experienced might not be real. However, his current state made this conjecture somewhat doubtful and confusing. Instinctively, Jiang Chengxuan's gaze fell on the 3 items on the stone platform in front. Upon closer inspection, he found that the items on the stone platform were a jade slip, an array flag, and a talisman. The jade slip was a jade slip that recorded the relevant situation of this ruin. As Jiang Chengxuan had guessed, the core of this ruin was built by a past void returning divine lord. Only those who had truly passed the test of this ruin were qualified to come to this sealed stone room and know the truth. Everything that Jiang Chengxuan experienced in the ancient era could be said to be real or illusory. At least, his current cultivation level and the gains of true treasures were the rewards for passing the test. As for the level 6 pure yang true treasure, the teaching ruler, it was the key to him passing the test. and only one person could obtain this qualification in this place. Other than that, the Jade slip also recorded some other secret techniques that only existed in ancient times. For example, how to repair the damaged spiritual vein, how to nurture the spiritual root, increase its potential, advance it, and so on. This knowledge was extremely rare, even unheard of, in the current 9 essences immortal cultivation world. This knowledge, while seemingly not immediately beneficial to oneself, could greatly enhance one's destiny. If used well, there would be almost no problem ascending to the higher realms after breaking through the late stage of soul formation. Moreover, if they could repair the damaged spiritual veins, it would greatly hinder the infiltration of that mysterious being from the outer world. What shocked Xianxia the most, and was even somewhat unbelievable, was that the stone platform in front of him was not an ordinary one, but a cross-realm array platform. According to the records in the Jade slip, Xianxia only needed to gather some corresponding materials to use this cross-realm array platform in front of him to teleport to other realms. The second item on the platform, the array flag, was the artifact controlling the central hub of this ruin. As long as he refined this array flag, Xianxia could see all the areas in the ruin. At the same time, he could also use this array flag to teleport in this ruin. If he wanted to reach the sealed stone room he was in, he could only use the array flag in his hand. As for the last talisman on the stone platform, it was a death substitution talisman. He only needed to drip a drop of his blood essence on that talisman, and he could use that death substitution talisman to block a death tribulation for him. According to the Jade slip, cultivators could encounter unpredictable dangers when performing cross-realm teleportation. A slight misstep could lead to death. This talisman was specially prepared for this. In essence, the 3 items on the stone platform, including the platform itself, were almost all prepared for cross-realm teleportation. However, collecting the materials and resources needed for cross-realm teleportation was not an easy task. Xianxia currently had no intention of performing cross-realm teleportation. However, this could be his backup plan in the future. He might be able to use it one day. Xianxia immediately put away the 3 items on the stone platform. Xianxia then took out the array flag and began to refine it. The process went smoothly. In less than 3 hours, he had completely refined the flag. Soon, he used the flag to observe the situation of everyone in the ruin. First, he saw his partner, Xianxia, who had already finished her test and was sitting cross-legged in her original place. This included perfected Lord Xianyang, perfected Lord Flowing Snow, and the Golden Wolf Demon Emperor. Some were still immersed in the test, eyes closed, wrapped in dazzling light, each in their own small space. Suddenly, Xianxia saw one person's aura suddenly disappear. To readers, our content is stolen. Please copy and see at RCH this link https://tineural.com/39hpcn6j to support us. This instantly stunned him. The person had perished. At the same time, Xianxia and the others, who were sitting cross-legged, saw the corpse of a cultivator not far away from them. This also shocked everyone who had finished the test. Obviously, no one had expected that death could be a possible outcome of the test. It turned out that there was more than one corpse. After that person, a few more people and a few demon emperors, corpses appeared not far from everyone. At this moment, many people were unable to remain calm. Even Xianxia looked worried. Seeing this, Xianxia was not in a hurry to leave. Instead, he waved the array flag in his hand and appeared in a few places in the ruin with many resources. In these places, Xianxia obtained even more resources than in the ruin of the Golden Furnace sect. This included the primordial earth iron that he currently needed. There were also some very precious body-tempering resources. For example, the Xianxia grass. After he had plundered most of the resources, he waved the array flag again and appeared beside Xianxia. From their entry into the light to now, only 3 days had passed in real time. It could be seen that Xianxia's 100 years of experience was different from the flow of time in reality. When Xianxia saw Xianxia, her worried face immediately lit up. "Husband, how are you? Are you all right?" Xianxia immediately smiled and nodded his head at her. "Don't worry, I'm fine. By the way, how was your gain this time?" Although he could see any place in the ruin through the array flag. However, he did not know much about Xianxia and the others' experiences and gains. Shen Ruyan looked around and nodded at Jiang Chengxuan with a smile. Let me put it this way, this trip is not in vain. Let's talk about this in detail after we get out. Hearing this, Jiang Chengxuan reacted. He smiled and nodded at Shen Ruyan. At the same time, perfected Lord Chuan Yang, perfected Lord Flowing Snow, perfected Lord Star Sea, and the others came over. The group began to talk. Just like that, another few days passed. When the last cultivator who participated in the test was sent out, the entire ruin began to tremble slightly. A glint flashed in Jiang Chengxuan's eyes. He knew that the ruin was going to teleport all of them out. Of course, now that he had the array flag, if he did not want to go out, he could choose to stay here. However, there was no need for that. Boom! Just as this thought flashed through his mind, he felt an extremely powerful teleportation power descend on him. Without resisting this force, Jiang Chengxuan, everyone present, and the demon emperors instantly disappeared. When their figures appeared again, they were already outside the ruin. Rumble! At this moment, the entire ruin suddenly began to disappear into thin air. The people who had yet to recover from the dizziness of being teleported revealed shocked expressions. What was going on? Buzz! Suddenly, a huge dragon claw appeared in the void and reached out to the ruin. That terrifying might and spiritual pressure were the level 6 demon sovereign from before, the Black Flood Dragon Demon Sovereign. Boom! Just as the Black Flood Dragon Demon Sovereign's dragon claw touched the edge of the ruin, an extremely powerful might suddenly burst forth from the ruin, and it actually sent the dragon claw flying. This scene once again shocked everyone. What was going on? A soul formation level ruin could actually easily repel the attack of a level 6 demon sovereign. They instinctively felt that something was wrong. However, at this moment, the ruin had completely disappeared from everyone's sight. No matter how much they used their divine senses to investigate, they could no longer see any traces of that ruin. Let's go! At this moment, an extremely majestic figure suddenly appeared in front of Jiang Chengxuan and the others. It was the heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain. No one would go against the words of a soul formation, Heavenly Lord. At that moment, everyone, including Jiang Chengxuan, followed Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain out of Mount St. Flo. Soon, they returned to the territory of the human race. After returning to the human territory, Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain didn't ask about their gains in the ruin. Instead, he disappeared with his disciples. This was the style of the Heavenly Lords. They would not probe too much into the gains of the younger generation, let alone covet what they had. Of course, if you had something that the Heavenly Lords could use and were willing to hand it over, they would not refuse. This was completely different from the style of the previous demon sovereign. Jiang Chengxuan and the others could even imagine that the demon emperors who entered the ruins this time would definitely be checked for their gains by the demon sovereign. At that time, it would be very good if they could keep half or even 40% for their gains. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several powerful streaks of light flashed across the sky. About a few days later, Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Tang Beisheng bade farewell to perfected Lord Chuan Yang, perfected Lord Flowing Snow, and perfected Lord Star Sea. After this trip to the ruin, everyone had a good harvest and needed to head back to enter seclusion. However, before they separated, perfected Lord Chuan Yang told everyone that 20 years later, there would be a super-large cultivators exchange in the Everlasting Palace, which was the sect where Heavenly Lord Everlasting Mountain was. At that time, as a soul formation senior, Heavenly Lord Changshan might give a lecture. Most of the nascent soul perfected lords in the northern border would definitely not miss such an opportunity. Firstly, it was for communication. Secondly, they could take this opportunity to exchange some treasures that they did not need with the cultivators present. Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and the others were tempted. They made an agreement with perfected Lord Chuan Yang. If they planned to go, they would inform perfected Lord Chuan Yang in advance. Just like that, the group separated. Jiang Chengxuan, Shen Ruyan, and Tang Beisheng finally returned to the state of Jiang after a few days. When they returned to the Jiang family, Tang Beisheng bid farewell to Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan and returned to his mountain peak. Jiang Chengxuan and Shen Ruyan returned to Xunaming Peak without alerting too many people. After returning to Xunaming Peak, The couple immediately had an in-depth conversation. From Shen Ruyan, Jiang Chengxuan learned that her test this time was similar to his. In the end, she got what she wanted. In addition to breaking through from the original third level of nascent soul to the fourth level, she also obtained two good things.